Down, down, out. What's up, everybody? You are tuned into the best of the Elks Call Season 2, apparently with Luna as well. I'm your host, Scout Attic of the Elks Herd, and we can't thank you enough for tuning into our show. Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and favorite buttons as your support means everything to us here at the Elks Herd and Shotgun Sports Network. Today, we're going to be giving you the best of the Edmonton Elks, part one. We say part one because we did manage to have quite a few of those interviews and conversations this year. Very, very thrilled about this one. This best of episode is brought to you by RoyalRetros.com. Save 10% off CFLPA merchandise, CFL throwback jerseys, and more with code Shotgun Sports, all caps, no spaces. Once again, that's RoyalRetros.com. They are the throwback kings. In 2024, once again, we were very fortunate to have members of the Double E on our show to talk about many topics. These combos will tell a great story about a team that started the season 0-7, but managed to pull it around in the second half. Offseason was exciting last year, as well as you're about to find out in our interview with number 87 of the Edmonton Elks, Geno Lewis. We also get to talk to the legendary Dave Jamieson, and that was before the start of the season. And then we also got to talk to Mark Korte and his father Brent and Uncle Terry. To wrap up the show, we'll give you our conversation with Rick Serritella of the NFL Draft Bible, former Double E scout with the team last year. Obviously, he's not with the team anymore going forward, but he's a great guy. It was still a great conversation, and he did his job with the Double E while he was here. We do have to give a very special thanks to Hernan Salas, Mike Arcuri, and the Edmonton Elks for making these interviews happen. It means a lot, and it gets us fans a little bit closer to the players and the organization. But without further ado, here are the best conversations of the year from the Elks Call. We have a very special guest, wide receiver, number 87 for the Edmonton Elks. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Geno Lewis.
What's
Eugene,
up,
how you
man?
doing today, man?
I'm doing good, man. Thank y'all for having me on. I appreciate it, and I'm glad to be here.
Oh, thank you so much for being on the show today. Before we went live, you said that you're out in Montreal. I think we're dealing with some similar weather. What kind
Pretty
of snow you
wild
got
out
out
there.
there?
You know what's crazy? So I always pay attention to the weather in Edmonton also because I just want to compare it sometimes. Like, and
Mhm.
I've been seeing like the weather was basically pretty good out there like this whole time. Like, it ain't been a lot of snow. It's like, it ain't really been in too many negatives from what I've heard, but like I don't know. In my mind, I'm feeling like it should be colder in Edmonton right now, and I should feel a little better.
You know what? I was online today and somebody said, okay, now it's time to put all your Christmas lights back on to see how it should have looked like in Christmas because
Right, right.
Edmonton was dry all the month of December.
No, exactly. We had Montreal weather in Edmonton for
Yes.
once.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was crazy too. And I was getting my car fixed like during the time and everything. So it was just like, I had to do a lot of running around, but we got it done though.
Oh man, that's good. That's good. Like speaking of that weather, we want to make sure everybody stays safe out there, especially with this
Please.
beautiful balmy -30 rolling in here to Edmonton. So
Yeah.
plug in the cars and turn on your lights and all that.
It's going to get ugly out there.
Oh,
All right.
exactly. And like that snow, our schedule is also stacked. So let's quickly go through this schedule. Uh, First up, we're gonna open up with the more you didn't know with Geno Lewis. We're gonna talk to Geno about his life on and off the turf, and then as well, we're gonna take a little look at 2024 and look forward to a good season. Then after that, we're gonna give you an Edmonton sports update, followed by some transactions, and then a very big fan forum today. That's where we talk about our hot topics surrounding the Edmonton Elks and the CFL as a whole. Make sure you blow up the herd chat to ask questions and to get your comments on the show, much like John Kirby in the herd chat right now, questioning my allegiance to the Packers. Scout Packer guy. The
Wow.
number 12, Aaron Rodgers is a good
Oh.
quarterback. I mean, he's looking like he's looking a little silly in the media nowadays, but
That's
But he plays for New York now.
yeah, exactly. So I don't have to like him anymore. That's there you go, right? You can go wherever you want with that one.
Yeah.
So before we get into the more you didn't know, we'd like to give a big shout out to everyone who is tuned in tonight on Shotgun Sports Network, or if you're listening in on Edmonton Sports Talk. If you're listening on TuneIn, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts, super thankful that you guys are tuning in. Thank you. Now, we're going to kick off this season 2 with The More You Didn't Know, where we interview Eugene Lewis. So be sure to get your questions into the herd chat so we can get them onto the show. Let's get this
Yes.
started.
Yes. So the first question that I have, I know you say that you're in Montreal, but when you actually do come to Edmonton, how do you
Yes.
like it? What do you like about the city?
Yeah. So I definitely say this like, um, Edmonton is a very from coming from Montreal, it's a lot slower. But I think like at some point in your life, like it needs to be like for me, I needed that. Like I needed to slow down in life because I lived in New York before, which is probably the worst situation I ever did in my life. I'll never do that again. And then coming to Montreal, it was like it was slower than New York, but in Canada, it's still a faster city. Like if that so it's like um I like Edmonton. Like Edmonton, like for one, I think the food is solid. I think the how they set it up, like how the Rogers Centers and the Ice District. I like how the District is set up. Um, if you go into the South Side, like going over the bridges, like I think the scenery is beautiful. Like the scenery of Edmonton, like when you going into the city and like you kind of seeing everything and all the water and stuff. It's beautiful, man. We actually did at one point in time. We had a team bonding, and we took like scooters around the city. And
Nice.
yeah, like now take it, mind you, I didn't know that like you could take the scooters and bikes, and there's like the elevator thing that goes like
Yeah.
down on the mountain. So I'm like, oh, okay,
Nuclear.
yeah. So I was seeing new stuff. Like it was good just to see a new part of the world because I haven't really been like on like the like in the mountain west or like just the west coast like that in my life. Like a lot of my family's on the east coast, so I think it's a great experience, and I think there's a lot of potential in the city of Edmonton.
Nice.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
so that's interesting. Like the western to eastern Canada, right? You finally got to experience that move.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Yes,
pretty sweet.
I did, and I think the main thing for me is like well Edmonton. The crazy thing about Edmonton is like during like the summer and everything, the sun doesn't go down till like 10 o'clock at night. it's like it's like you're like waiting for the sun to go down, and you like I don't really know what time it is, and then like at some point in time like it switches, and then 4 or 5 o'clock is dark. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like sometimes like the days would just go so fast for me. It would just go so fast.
Yes. Yes, it is definitely an adjustment. I also come from a big city. I was born and raised in Mexico City. So moving
Okay.
from that to Edmonton was like, what kind of farm is this? You know, like this whole city is a farm. Like, what
Yeah.
is this?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an adjustment, but hopefully we've been treating you right, and yeah, we truly
Oh
enjoy.
yeah. Like overall myself, like I've had a lot of great experiences. Like honestly, my favorite experiences so far in Edmonton was I was doing some team events where I had to work at Tim Hortons, like at the in the drive-through, like like doing that and like seeing how much the people really appreciate the organization. Like, and it's crazy because I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'll tell you, like I was getting both sides of it. Like I was getting some people that were like, "Oh, go Elks," and then I was getting some people that were like, "Oh, you aren't the Eskimos, so I don't want to do it."
Aw.
Aw.
Mind you, I came here as an elk. I never knew anything as the Eskimo, so it was kind of like I can't really say nothing to you. I don't know. You gotta feel how you feel how you gotta feel, but go Elks though, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, but go Elks though. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
Elks. You know?
I love
Love
it.
it.
I
Love it.
love it.
Flex on him with a little elk.
Yeah.
So when you're not in season for the Elks, we got to know what's the day in the life of Eugene Lewis in the off season.
Yeah, so like after the season, like for the first month or so, I definitely take some time off just to recover my body, still take care of myself, still make sure I'm doing the things I need to do. But usually after the season, there's a big holidays are coming around, so I usually go back home to Philadelphia and Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, visit my family. I got 7 brothers and sisters, so I got a big family I really appreciate. I take care of a lot of people, and really just I kind of get those things and get that time with with my family and my friends that I usually don't get during the season. Especially being in Edmonton now, it's a lot further where I'm from. You know what I mean? So like when I was in Montreal, people were able to drive up and come to the games and stuff. But being in Edmonton, it's a little further from home, and it's not as easy for everybody to get there. A lot of my friends and my brothers and sisters, they have kids now too, so it just makes it a little more harder. But other than that, I'm in Montreal training. I'm exploring. I try to go on a vacation every year. I take my mom. My mom's birthday is actually in 3 days. Her birthday is July.
Nice. Happy birthday.
birthday.
14th. Yeah, and then my dad's birthday is actually tomorrow, and then my little brother's birthday was on the 8th. So it's like back to back. Yeah, and then I take my mom on a trip, usually for her birthday. Her favorite place now is Miami. I took her a couple years ago for her first time, so like she loved it there. And then next month I'll be in Florida training for good for the next 2 months. Getting ready for the season. I'm a big palm tree guy. I love palm trees. I have trouble with the snow sometimes. Like avoid it. I like to avoid it. Yeah, but unfortunately, there's not really many places in Canada that has palm trees. So it's just you got to deal with that sometimes. But I'm a big Florida guy, man. I love Florida. I love being down there. My spirits go up, and I just work even harder.
That's awesome. Well, and we do hear about a lot of especially CFL players going down south and doing that off-season training. I mean, you go down south and you don't have to deal with this snow. Right?
Who wouldn't want that? I want that, and I have no training to do whatsoever.
Yeah. And one of the main things that I do, I play basketball a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know. I know for receiver, from my position, there's so much translation from basketball to football when it comes to it. So that's one of the big things that I do too. Great conditioning too, great cardio. You know what I mean? So
nice. We'll touch base on that. We'll ask that question probably coming up here.
Yes.
Actually,
we get into that. So how about it in season? Do you have what's it like? A day in the life of Geno is in season. Do you have rituals, superstitions, anything that you absolutely must do before a game?
Before a game, yes. If you're talking about before a game, yeah. Now, before practices and stuff like that, I think that's kind of like you got to get your mind every day ready for practice. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's different when you go into the game. You worked all week, worked hard all week for the game. But before the game, I go to Tim Hortons and I go to Booster Juice. I go to Booster Juice. I get two lemon ginger turmeric shots. Then I go to Tim Hortons. I get a bacon, egg, and cheese on a bagel, a bacon, egg, and cheese on a croissant, chocolate glazed donut, and an apple juice. And depending on the month, if it's October, they have the pumpkin spice. It's crazy. Out of this world. Out is the pumpkin spice glazed donut.
Oh my goodness.
Crazy. So October is like the only time where like I gotta change the chocolate glazed donut to the pumpkin spice glazed donut.
Great. It's the Geno Lewis special. That's what they should call it.
The Geno Spooky Special. I call it the Spooky Special in October.
Hey, and you know what?
I love it.
You're usually building up for November at around that point, right? So we're gonna get on that train.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. And mind you, around October and November, they have cranberry ginger ale. It's out of this world. Listen, I'm telling y'all, cranberry ginger ale will change your life. I'm telling you.
I'm taking those tips for sure. Taking those tips.
You're gonna have that whole special.
Yeah.
Oh, got to. Oh, we did expect, at the Elks Herd, expect something out there on the social medias
I'm
for
not.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the lemon ginger turmeric
Oh,
shot.
it's so good.
Is
It's
it?
so spicy, and it's like and it wakes you up. It's just like a boom. Like I gotta wake up now. It's like how some people that's how coffee is for them. Coffee doesn't really do nothing for me. Like I
Nice.
need I need a ginger shot that's gonna get me going. You know what I'm saying? So
Well, exactly.
Might have to try it.
You're gonna.
Might have to.
I am definitely trying it.
yeah,
Definitely.
it's enough booster juices to try. So you could do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Oh, especially around Edmonton.
Yeah.
All right. So you were talking about basketball there in your off season. You like to play a little bit of basketball. If you weren't a football player, would you be playing basketball, or what would you be doing?
Well, I mean, luckily for a lot of people, basketball, if it was possible, I probably would be playing both. I always tell people, listen, I'm about to get connected with the Stingers, in Edmonton. I was already connected with the Montreal Alliance. You know what I mean? I got my CEBL ball. They gave me a signed one and all that out here. So I went to the Stingers game when I first got out to Edmonton, and actually that stadium is beautiful. The atmosphere is beautiful. The people, they actually got a lot of people coming out there. I think it's a beautiful thing that they're doing in basketball. But yeah, so for like just some background, like for me, like my family is a basketball family. Like my dad played basketball. He got drafted in the NBA draft in 1989. My aunt, she went to Pitt University. When she was at Pitt University, though, the WNBA wasn't out yet, so she obviously didn't get the opportunity. But she broke the record. She has the most assists ever for a female at Pitt University, and she has a couple other. My sister, she played college basketball at Iona College in Seton Hall, and then she went and played professional basketball in Spain and Puerto Rico. And she's younger than me too, so I taught her a lot of everything that she knows. But anyways, but yeah, like my whole family is like a real competitive basketball family, and I was always a big basketball player in my family too. Like it was just basketball for me. In basketball, you can really see like how athletic somebody is, and you can really see like how they can move. Like, and for me, it was just kind of like this is the difference between basketball and football. In football, being a receiver, I gotta hope a lot of things go right. I gotta make sure that the line blocks for the quarterback. I gotta make sure that the quarterback sees the right reads. I gotta make sure the other person inside of me, he runs the right route. And I gotta run the right route. Basketball, hey, let me have that. I need right. Yeah, let me have that right now. So it's a different mindset. It's a different mindset. But if I wasn't playing football, like if you asked me if I would play another sport, I definitely would be playing basketball. And I'll say this for a sleeper, I probably would be playing volleyball too. I wish I would have. I wish that's one sport I wish I could actually have played back. I could have, but I just thought it wasn't cool. Like honestly.
Did you play it in school? Did you play volleyball in high school or anything?
No, and that was the thing. Like in high school, I used to have. So in high school, I only played football and basketball. Like I was just like mainly focused on them. But I used to have like my soccer coach, like the soccer coach out of high school. He'd be like, "Listen, just come play goalie. Like you got long arms, you can jump.
Yeah.
You don't even have to come to practice. Like just come to the games and play goalie." And I was just like, "Yeah, nah. I don't see that." And on top of that, I used to see how hard the people kick those soccer balls, and I'm like, I know they got the thick gloves on and that, but like this is my money makers. Like these are like these are my gold members. You know what I'm saying? So, and then even volleyball, like they asked me to play that. They're like, listen, you could literally dunk every play. Like you can dunk and just spike the ball on everybody, And I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. It's a weird sport during that time when I was coming up as a kid. Like it was just like that's not a popular sport.
It's not cool. It's not cool enough.
Yeah,
it's not cool enough. I guess I was too. At the time, I was too cool. I was too cool for it.
But volleyball isn't it? Like I played it in elementary. I was on a dynasty team there.
Yeah,
dynasty in the city of.
Okay.
Hey man, Fort McMurray represent Greeley Road School. We killed it back in the day, but it's interesting, right? Like it's such a fun sport to play and spiking
Yes.
the ball and how you set it up and
Yes.
serving. Like you're smashing a ball around over a
Yeah.
net, right? It's a
I don't
Yeah.
know. I was never an athlete, and those balls hurt. So,
oh, that's
but
good.
before we go into our last question, I do want to take a little bit of time to just bring up some of the questions that our viewers are asking. I have big fan 2019 John.
John.
He is asking, Geno Lewis, what are you looking forward to in the postseason in the NFL this weekend?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. So I'm an Eagles fan.
Nice.
I'm an Eagles fan. I'm a big Eagles fan. Always since day one. My favorite player of all time ever is Brian Westbrook. For those who don't know, um, I'm looking honestly. I want to see how they're going to do. Um, it hasn't been looking too good the last couple of weeks, but I always say this: the regular season doesn't matter once you get into the playoffs. All you ask is to get in the playoffs, and anything can happen at that point in time. I'm gonna say this. I know this probably might be like very random, but I'm very very eager to see the viewing results of the Chiefs Dolphins game because it's on Peacock and you have to pay for it to see it, which I think is crazy. I've never heard of that ever in my life. I feel like a lot of people were saying because Taylor Swift's going to be there, so they know people going to really tune in and all that. But it's just like, listen, man, you shouldn't a playoff game and that game. You talking about that specific game? Tyreek Hill coming back to Arrowhead and they play. Come on, you got to put that on national TV.
Yeah, that's a primetime game right there. What are you doing putting that on Peacock or putting it on a paywall, basically putting it behind a paywall? I completely agree. That is prime time, man.
Hopefully it completely crashes so that they don't have to do that again.
Well,
yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll just say this right now. I think the team that's playing the best and that looks scary right now are the Baltimore Ravens. I think Lamar Jackson is playing at a different level right now. I think he does get the respect that he deserves, but he doesn't at the same time. I think a lot of people criticize him, for his play, but if you look at how many wins he has to losses in his career right now, obviously the next step he got to take is winning playoff games. So once he does that, it's the sky's the limit. But I'm excited to see that. And I'm rooting for the Packers this week.
Yeah.
The Dallas Cowboys. Let's go. Let's go.
Yes,
oh man,
they have to.
Yeah, you gotta crush them, right? Who them boys? It's gonna be the Packers this weekend. That's who we talking about.
This is the only thing. This is the only thing I'm gonna say. The Packers are still thinking about. The Cowboys are still thinking about that Dez Bryant drop catch that they had some years back. They still thinking about that. That's the only thing. That's the only reason they kind of still mad about that. And I'm not mad at them, but I'm happy. I was happy it happened. I can't stand the Cowboys. If there's one team I can't stand, it's the Cowboys, and that's what
Eagles, right?
Eagles.
Eagles.
Eagles
You've
fan.
seen the documentary.
Yes.
Kathy's a little bit new to the world of sports, right? So she didn't quite get the rivalry until a couple of years ago. I showed her the
until I heard all about it.
Yeah. And then every time the game was on, I'm like, look, it's a Dallas versus Philadelphia Eagles game. You got to watch this. It's going to be a good game every time.
Totally.
We do have another question from Ryan Messer. He is asking, having attended Penn State and Oklahoma, what are your thoughts on Nick Saban's retirement?
Hey, it's actually crazy. I seen this in the car not too long ago when I was with my cousin. Man, I think honestly, I'm gonna tell you my honest opinion of what I think is happening. I think Nick Saban has come to the conclusion or realized that before like social media and before NIL deals, he could win off of just recruiting. Like Alabama, there's no all the NIL, nothing to take everything away. Alabama,
just the name, right?
Just the name. Now you got to think he has to battle with coaches. Just say Lincoln Riley at USC, right? I know they had their little situation. Shout out Lincoln. He was my offensive coordinator at Oklahoma. But now you got to think. You have to convince kids to come to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, or they can go to Hollywood, California, and get an NIL deal. I'm sorry, that's a for some kids. It's like, okay, Hollywood or Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It's no disrespect to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, but it's not Hollywood. So you know what I'm saying. So it's like it's tough, man. And I think he's just come to the point where he can't coach like he used to. He can't coach the same way that he used to coach older guys. Like the new era and the new generation. It's more of a sensitive air now. Like a lot of things you can't do as a coach, a lot of things you can't say as a coach. And yeah, I just think it's his time. Or what he could be doing pulling the Urban Meyers, and I'm gonna take a year or two off, and then I'm gonna go over here and do the whole thing all over again. So he just might need he might need a break. He might just need a couple years. He might need a break.
Well, exactly, and
Just a little sabbatical.
And I think we do know too that he's not necessarily an NFL quarterback. He's a guy that has to work with the younger players, the college players. He can't really handle a full room of grown men.
It's different, man. It's different. Once you go from college to professionals, the money thing, it changes everything. It changes everything now because you gotta think it's players in the NFL that's making more money than their coaches. So you basically like you could tell some of the people what they do, but they're gonna tell you like, I make more money than you right now. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, and sometimes it can get like that. But hopefully you hope like it doesn't. But it just kind of depends on everybody's situation, honestly. But I think it's sad though, man. I think it's definitely it takes away from the college game. I think Nick Saban is up there. He one of the best to ever do it. Like, and he showed it. His consistency. His patience and just everything that he went about. I know a lot of people say this and that about him, but one thing you can't ever take away from Nick Saban is that he is a winner. Like he is a winner. He has won the big games. He's lost them before, but consistently he was in the big games.
GOAT status. GOAT status for sure. Before we get to our last question here, Randy McDonald in the herd chat. The best thing about the Cowboys, there's nothing. Correction, it's great when they lose. So
yes, that's it. When the Cowboys lose, my week is complete. Like the that's the Cowgirls, man. Listen,
I love it. I love it.
Love it. But yes, our last question. We've made it to 2024, and the Edmonton Elks have a huge season coming up, with so many things, the 75th season celebration, so on and so forth. So what are you looking forward to this year?
I mean, my main goal every year is looking towards a Grey Cup, bringing this city a Grey Cup, bringing this organization a Grey Cup, and just honestly, if I'm also just coming back to like everything else, like I really want to bring a season to the fans that they deserve, and that that just shows that we really do work hard. Like I know the last 2 seasons that has happened. I know the season that I was here last year, the 4 games and all that, but I want people to come to the home games and they're excited every time they come here. Like every time they come there, somebody's doing something spectacular. The kids are enjoying themselves. Like I said, one thing I will say about Edmonton, regardless, is the fans are very, very loyal. Like regardless, and the kids are very, very loyal. Like it was a lot of kids all the time. I did a couple of camps like with so many kids who some of the kids didn't care about the wins and losses. But then it was crazy because you had some kids who were like 6 and 7, like, hey, do you guys know that y'all finally won the first home game in such years? I'm like, you're like 7 years old. Like, how do you even notice? Like, but you know what? That just goes to show me that your parents are real fans because you wouldn't notice unless you're paying attention to it. So, but yeah, it was so crazy sometimes. Like the questions you would just hear from kids, like when I was going to schools and stuff, like. But like, yeah, so like, when are you guys going to win? And like, that was when like we were like 0-8, 0-7. I'm just like, well, right now I'm not playing, but I'm trying to figure out how we going to win. Don't worry, So, I'm really looking, like I said, to get out there with my boys, man, the team, just letting everything settle in, and we're gonna give everything we got for the city.
Oh, for sure, and like we're obviously stoked to hear about that, but. Even ending last year and seeing you, we saw you at the at the very last moments of the Edmonton season at home, and I mean, yeah, like it was kind of surreal for us. We're down there, we're saying hi to people, we're saying hi to Mondo, and we see you, and you're like, listen, man, we're gonna win next year. And a lot of the players came up to us with the exact same sentiment. Like, we're giving everybody a high five, for completing the season. We're still happy. We got a home win. Which was nice. Obviously, you guys were expecting more, so were we, but that's sports. We were just thankful that you guys put on a heck of a show once again for another season. So that's why we were down there, was to give people high fives and stuff like that. We saw you and you're like, man, this isn't happening again next year. And you were like frustrated about it in that moment. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I appreciate, not only about you, but a lot of members in that locker room and on the Edmonton Elks. You guys, you're still resilient, but that frustration, you guys got to sit with it for the off season or whatever, and you guys come back and build back stronger. And Taylor Cornelius, yes, I know he was released. I talk about Taylor Cornelius quite a bit. Why? Because he did that effort in the off season to build up and to work on his game. So, same thing for what you're doing right now. You're going to be building up. You're going to be coming back to training camp, which we're extremely stoked about. We can't wait to get back into Commonwealth Stadium, but it sucks that we're 5 months away. But and then with the latest news as well, now you have McLeod Bethel Thompson coming into the quarterback room alongside Trey Ford. Somebody said that you've got to be feasting your eyes. I got to assume that's true.
Yeah, so I seen that. So I think one of my old teammates from Montreal put like, I'm feasting my eyes for 2K this year. So listen, I tell people this all the time. I can get 2K and I can get 2K. I know I can. I know it's possible. And a lot of people got to understand this too, like my history, and like again, like a lot of people got to do their homework on my past. So it's like, I know a lot of people, are trying to figure out the whole situation, the MBT and the Trey Ford thing and everything. And I tell people all the time, you got to understand, like, when I was in Montreal, this same situation happened with Vernon Adams Jr. and Trevor Harris. And it was the same thing. Nobody really said nothing to Vernon. You know what I'm saying? It happened. That was the decision that the upstairs and all them wanted to make. And mind you, I'm a receiver. So you got to understand, like, I'm catching from whoever is throwing me the ball. Like, so it's like, I can't pick and choose, like, oh, I want this. It's like, hey, whoever they pick, that's what I got to go with. And my job is to whoever is throwing me the ball, I'm going to help you be the best quarterback that you can possibly be. That's it. Like, that's my main goal. I'm here to help everybody. Any quarterbacks that I have ever played with, they'll tell you the same thing. And people got to also understand one thing about that situation, though, with Trevor Harris and Vernon Adams is Vernon, like, that's my best friend. So I seen the development from him, that he learned from Trevor, like when he was there. Like Vernon really, he was already established, like, but it was still some of the little things that he had to figure out, he had to learn. And I remember having conversations with him after the fact, like, yeah, man, like, as much it was hard to do, obviously, because we competitors and only one quarterback can play. He like, I really learned so much, like, from Trevor, and just mentally, some of the things that he do physically, and just emotionally, just keeping yourself together. And mind you, now you see him in BC and you see how he's doing, and you see it all comes together. Like it's patience and consistency, and it's just about having the people believe in you and giving you the opportunity to to show your best potential. So I look at it like this, man. Like, look, Trey's going to be great, and he's going to keep doing what he's doing. And MBT is also going to be a great mentor for him. Like, MBT has been in this league. He's been in the league for a while. He's been doing this for a while. He's won some great cups. So he brings a different dynamic of leadership, because I don't have a great cup, and I'm going to get one. We're going to get one. And like I say, they gotta work together as a team, and they have to understand that we are one team, and they got to come together. But I think it's going to work out perfectly fine. I think the mindset that MBT is coming in with, and just the grinder that Trey is, listen, you done been through this and been through that. It can't get too much harder. So just keep grinding until until you get to where you got to get to. Like, I remember being on practice roster basically my whole first year. It was people that said that, yeah, you might be a 2 or 3 receiver in this league, Gene. Like, and now I'm looking at them like, Yeah, so how you feel about that? Like, yeah, you told me I was gonna be a 2 or 3 receiver in the CFL. Okay, but it's okay. You know, at the end of the day, it's all about my. I don't have to say what's understood. Don't need to be said. And I'm going. And no matter what's going on, no matter how hard, no matter how tough or whatever obstacles I got to go through, I'm gonna figure a way to make it work. And that's my main goal. Whatever I gotta help, however I gotta help MBT, however I gotta help Trey. I'm trying to do whatever we can to win a Grey Cup, and that's the main goal.
Well, exactly, and like it was extremely refreshing to hear MBT saying that he's coming here to get a ring. Like he came here, and that's his number one objective. And even Ryan Messer here in the herd chat, MBT is about to go off. That man is a beast. R.I.P. New Orleans Breaker. So Ryan Messer of Shotgun Sports, he was actually on the sidelines and talked with him quite a bit last season, covering the Birmingham Stallions. Got to see him a couple times there, and you know, Ryan Messer was absolutely stoked that he was joining the Edmonton Elks because he's such a great guy and has such a great mindset. So, you know, I completely agree. And my favorite example is Michael Riley to Nate Rourke and how that development worked. Having a great mentor and having that kind of experience, especially in a quarterback room, it's never a bad thing. Let's just put it
never a bad thing. It's always a good thing. It's always a good thing. And the thing about it, people just got to understand that, you know, everybody got a job to do. Like, you know, and it's actually, it is crazy too, because I heard MBT, he was saying this, like, see, when I was in Montreal, y'all got to understand too, like, I couldn't stand Toronto. Like, I couldn't stand Toronto. I couldn't stand nothing about them. Like, I always looked at them a certain way. And you know, MBT, even I would usually have super good games against Toronto most of my career. So it was like he would come to me though, and he would say after the game, like, "Hey man, like I just want to play with you one time, bro. Like if I could imagine just like playing it one time, bro. Like and you know, sometimes when you do that type of stuff, you speak it into existence. And you know, just years on years on years, you never know what can happen at the end of it all, you know. And like I said, he led the CFL his last year in passing, he led the USFL last year in passing. So, you know, his it speaks for itself, you know what I mean? And like I said, I'm here, man. I'm here to help. I'm here to help whoever we got to do, just like I was last year. The same thing last year when I first came, and like I said, TC, Trey, Doogie, whoever's there. Like I'm here to help y'all. I tell my quarterbacks all the time, I'm here to make us look good and to get you paid. Like that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm trying to get you paid.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. No, man, no, and I mean 2024, it's gonna be an extremely exciting season. Geno, we know you're a busy guy, and we know it's a little bit late over there in Montreal as well. So, man, we can't thank you enough for joining us tonight. This was an awesome convo. Thank you so much.
Oh, listen, I want to say one more thing too. I want to say one more thing about what you said, what you were asking me about. What do I expect for the 2024 season for the fans? Like this is, I also want to say this, like you know how you were saying, like everybody was happy that we won a home game and we did this. See, now this year, the standards need to be up higher, and we have to put those up higher for our fans. So, because think about it, like I want our fans to be able to talk trash to other fans too. Like I don't want us to be saying, "Oh, well, at least we finally won a home game." No, I want us to say, "Well, we swept y'all this year.
Yeah,
we swept y'all this year. We're going to the playoffs this year. We doing this and shit." Yeah, like I want our fans to be able to be able to talk. They talk with how they talk. You know what I'm saying? So that's also my main goal is to help the fans be able to, you know, brag about their team and talk about their team, how they need to talk about how it used to be.
Yeah, you know what? And you know what a really good benchmark would be? Now that I'm sure you're aware that they closed off the top
they did
top of the Commonwealth Stadium. So a really good benchmark would be to see how many home games we can open that up.
Yeah.
How many, you know, if we can bring in every single person in the city and open that up, that is a benchmark that the team is doing fantastic and everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. And I'm excited. The Grey Cup is in BC this year, so we don't have to worry about no weather. And we do listen. However it's happening, we are inside. We are inside for the Grey Cup next year.
Yes.
I love it. Like, you know, you're already thinking Grey Cup. You are speaking it into existence.
Yeah, I told VA the other day. I said, VA, listen, I know you're gonna be in BC, for the game, but you're not gonna be in the game. So just know, I know I'm gonna just make sure you in the suites and all that. I was talking crazy to him a couple days.
Love it. No, it's so good. It's so good. Hey man, we couldn't be more thrilled that you signed with the Edmonton Elks last year. So stoked you're still with the team. So stoked that we get to see you ball out on the turf this year. You're coming back with a vengeance. The whole team is so.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. I for sure am like missing those 6 games and that being on the IR. Like a lot of people don't know how much that puts a fire in me. Like I can't stand not being able to be out there and play for my guys. I hate losing more than I love winning. So it's for me. I'm probably one of the most elite competitors that you'll ever meet. Like that's just me. I'm a competitor. I want to win. I don't really care about anything else. Let's find a way to win, and we're gonna do what we do. So, man, go Elks, man. I'm out there. I'm ready. Y'all got me ready to go play right now.
There you go.
Hey man, you're good for the city too. By the way, Geno, I gotta say, man, you're good for the city too.
Yeah.
So all
Chad
around
over here, Geno sounds ready to go. So
Listen,
we are.
Yes, I'm ready, Chad. I'm listening. I was always taught if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. That's what it is. Shout out to my boy at Manny Arsenal too. You know what I'm saying? Because he stayed ready. He stayed ready to my boy.
Hard work works. That's his saying. Hard work works, baby.
Love it.
No.
Well, thank you so much once again, and we really look forward to seeing you in the field and training camp. We'll be there.
Oh, we have Geno. Do you have one more? Do you have time for one more question?
Yes, yeah, I do. Listen, I got time. Even if it's 2 more, I got time for 2 more.
You're the man. You're so awesome. Okay, Chris Agar in the chat. Geno, how is your confidence in the improved quarterback depth? We kind of just talked about that, but yeah, what's your answer there?
Yeah, it helps, man. Listen, I tell people this all the time. Having a starter and a backup is probably the most important thing on the team because your backup has to be ready just as much as your starter does. And you got to understand, we got a small league in the CFL, so sometimes a lot quarterbacks go down. Last year it was a lot of quarterbacks going down and things like that. So that backup guy needs to be ready because he has to prepare like he's a starter, like no matter what. Like we want the same confidence in that backup that we got in our starter. And the thing is, when you have that, there is no drop in anybody's game. It's just if it's this, we good. Everybody, nothing changes. So, like I said, having veteran depth in the quarterback room, I think was a big, huge thing for our team. I think that would have went a long way last year if we were able to have it a little more. Just seeing it, I've been around a lot of older quarterbacks too, like Darian Durant, Drew Willie, when I was first coming in, it was a lot of older, mature, veteran guys that been in the league for a while, that been around a whole bunch of teams. So you kind of just see the difference between when you see a rookie come up and you see a veteran, and I think the best thing about for Trey too is that he's a very unique talent in the sense of he played in youth sports too. So it's like that's another reason why it's different from him and Rorik. Rorik went to the States and played college football down in the States. So like the development is a little different. It was a little more faster. For Trey, he's been up here his whole career. You know what I'm saying? And just off of that little sample size that he did, you see what he could do last year. So it's just about like putting everything together. Like MBT said, making the script now for him, like scripting everything. And now it's boom, boom, boom. And now when you got to go off script, you do your magic, Trey. Do your magic, because that's what it is.
Oh, beautiful! Oh, this is
exciting.
Yeah, we all just want to get back down to Commonwealth Stadium now. This is unreal. Chris said thank you very much, Geno. Yeah, I guess we can finally let you go, Geno. We could talk forever, but man, we really hope the off season goes well for you. We can't see you. We can't wait to see you down at Commonwealth Stadium, back on the turf and training camp.
Yeah.
I mean, we say hashtag is it June yet?
Right.
So things actually happen a little bit quicker than than it appears, especially with the snow on the ground. So
yeah. For sure, man.
You know how it goes.
And shout out to McDavid, man, for the Oilers for getting his 900 career point last week. That's awesome. I ain't even gonna lie. that's a hell of an achievement, man, for what he's doing. Shout
Maybe
out to all.
maybe
Shout
we'll
out
get
to,
dual cups this year.
yeah, come on, listen. Shout out to all the Edmonton teams, the Oilers, to the Elks, to the Stingers. Do we got a soccer team?
We used to have Edmonton FC,
Yeah.
RIP.
They're back now.
Okay.
They might be coming back,
might
but
be
either
coming
way.
back.
But yeah, shout out to all the junior leagues out there, the football junior leagues and everything, man. Listen, everybody just keep grinding. Edmonton, let's keep growing as a city, man, and let's do big things. Let's do it. And Alberta University too. Shout out to them. Listen,
Okay.
they're gonna build on from next year. Last year, that was a good year, but we're gonna build on it next year.
Vanier coming up, hopefully. Yeah, Korte crew, all those guys.
That's
No.
so close.
Well, we can't thank you enough, man. And we'll see you soon, Geno.
We'll see you
All right,
soon.
thank y'all. Appreciate y'all. God bless you, and have a good night.
Have
You
a
as well,
good
man. Go
night.
Elks.
All right, go Elks.
So,
All right.
Geno's an awesome guy. Thanks again, Geno, once again for coming on the show. That was amazing. That was a great chat.
That was great.
Thanks everybody for getting in the herd chat. Thanks for asking questions. This was great.
Yeah.
And today we are joined once again by the director of the WE alumni, former president of the Edmonton Rush, former media relations for the Edmonton Elks, and Edmonton media royalty. Ladies and gentlemen, once again on the Elks Call, it's Dave Jamieson. Dave, welcome back to the show, man.
Well, it's great to see you guys. All of that, some of that is actually true in that introduction. Actually, all of it is true right up until the point you said media royalty. That always makes me laugh. I think I should come better dressed, like with a flowing robe of some description and maybe a crown.
Yes.
I was worthy of that. But thank you for the kind words. It's good to be back with you.
Oh no, always happy to see you, Dave. We have a ton to catch up on.
We do.
To start it off, how was your most recent trip, and what was it like coming back to the tundra?
Well, I went out for a couple of days to spend some time with my brother in Penticton. And I don't know if you've been to the Penticton, the Okanagan, which is, I think a lot of people will know, certainly in our neck of the woods, what that place can be like in the summer. It's quite fantastic. It's hot, it's beautiful, and it's all of that. But in the winter, it becomes this little kind of sleepy, sort of quiet town, but it is idyllic. And when you're looking out at, Lake Okanagan, that's not a bad thing. So, but then to come back and get, whacked with that, the temperature. But you know what? We are a hardy group here, and I learn it every time I leave and come back and go. And you tell people, sort of if they follow the weather, like, oh, I saw it was minus 40 where you're from, and you go, yeah, it was, and it can be rugged, but it's all good. And you know what? Each day is a day we're closer to the start of football, so that's not a bad thing.
Exactly. The countdown is now at 80 Brian Mitchell days away until WE preseason football. So very, very stoked. We have a lot to talk about in this show. Before we dig in, we'd like to thank everybody for tuning in, whether you're watching on YouTube, which is Shotgun Sports Network, or on Facebook or on X, or if you're listening on TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Edmonton Sports Talk, or wherever you get your podcasts. For today's lineup, it's another stack show.
It's always a stack
show. First, we're going to open up by catching up with Dave Jamieson in The More You Didn't Know. Then we'll dig into Kathy's herd report, talking about the latest Edmonton Elks transactions and news. Which is not a ton, but it's there. It exists. As well, major news, any major news from the CFL, all in the herd report. Following that, we're going to give you an Edmonton sports update with some help from Len. That's what and then we'll go ahead and cap the show with the fan forum, where we discuss hot topics surrounding the Edmonton Elks, the CFL, and the sports world as a whole. Please be sure to blow up the herd chat. It's already blowing up. We see a couple of questions in there. Make sure you get some more in there so we can bring them all onto the show, especially if you have any questions for Dave Jamieson. So let's kick it off with the war you didn't know. In this segment, we're going to chat with Dave about a number of things, including his life and his involvement with the Edmonton Elks. So be sure to blow up that her chat. Like we said, we already have some questions, Dave. So
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready.
in the her chat,
You want to start with those?
You
No.
guys, I'll tell you what. I learned a number of things and was humbled often by doing talk radio and sports talk radio. I will. You guys are great hosts, so I will wherever you take me. I will go, and if I can't answer, I'll think of some crafty way to get out of a tight corner.
Hey, you know what? We already have lacrosse questions.
Oh,
in the
okay.
her chat, so this is. I think
Yeah.
this is going to be great.
Yeah.
Sure.
We'll get ours out of the way.
Yeah. Let's
Okay.
So the last time you were on the show, Dave, it was around 6 months ago on the Elks Call season 1, and then since CFRN 1260, since those days, you've been bouncing around radio stations like an Edmonton rock star, EST to 1440.
Yeah.
What have you been up to for the last while?
Well, when it was June 14th last year when TSN 1260 was shut down, and so what I did there, or did after that, entertained some offers both in the industry and, or at least opportunities, I should say, not offers, and a couple of offers. One of them to stay in media, and another outside. But I used the time largely to get healthier. I won't, I don't need to bore you or your listeners. I wasn't really that healthy when I returned. I was off for 10 months dealing with my head and neck cancer and the surgery and the recovery and then the radiation and the recovery from that and all of that rehabilitation. So when I went back to do what started my old show, which was 2 hours, and then I think within 2 weeks, the two shows, myself and Alan Mitchell, Low Tide, they mashed those two shows together to make it a 4-hour show. And I probably, in hindsight, while I was happy that I was able to return, a lot of people with my kind of cancer don't return to work. And certainly not if you use your vocal cords, which I do. Often they don't return to what they were previously. So anyway, I was grateful to have a goal, make the goal, achieve the goal, go back to work. But then just getting through a show of 4 hours, having to do that took a great deal of toll on me physically and mentally, if I'd be very honest. And so when the day came when we were laid off, I mean, that hurt, obviously, and no one wanted that. And I just took the time I spent several months eating properly because I couldn't eat at work because of my condition. So I tried to put on weight, tried to do my rehabilitation work at Alberta Cancer Exercise at the U of A, and just looked after myself. Bell as part of the settlement, so my bills were getting paid, and that was good. And then and thank you for noticing that I appeared on Bob Stauffer's show, which was a lot of fun because we'd always talked about over the years working together. And he remembered that I had, he was a very young Bob Stauffer, as he tells everyone. He looked like a young Tom Cruise. Okay, I'll believe him. But he interviewed with me for a job when I was a program director of CHED. Like I was there. It was my first year, second year when that station launched. Anyhow, it was great. On with 1440. That was a lot of fun to go in and chat with Kevin Carrius, who I've known for a long time, and just kind of pop in. And it was a lot of fun to be a guest, not have to worry about, I don't know, keeping the text line going and trying to figure out on the fly, like, where are we going to take this conversation about the Elks or the Oilers or whatever? Because that, when you're doing it day after day after day, it can be a kind of a grind, and especially on slow days and what have you. So it was just fun to go in, and the guys in Edmonton Sports Talk, who were all dear friends of mine, and see them doing so well. I know you guys are working with them. Like, it was just fun to show up, have some fun, and be able to leave. And so fast forward, and that's an overly long answer to all of this, is I was approached by Evan Daum, who you guys know well from the vice president of the Edmonton Elks, VP of marketing and game day and events, and probably a bunch of other things I'm not aware of. And he approached me and he said, "Would you like to? We would like you to work with us for the 75th season celebrations." And so they've hired me on contract, and which is great, and I love them for all of that. And so we've started as of like January 15th, and I go in a couple of days a week to the stadium, and then I'm working with Evan and the others planning some events. We've got and I know we're going to have a public unveil on March 25th, and I know you guys have been down to the dressing room because of the tailgate stuff, and I know the club has shared a lot of those plans, but that's we're working towards March 25th. We've got a few things that are less public before then, and then once we're out there in the realm, we got a lot of work to do, get ready for June 8th, and then we've got a couple of things prior to a couple of days leading up to the start of the regular season that are going to be really cool. And 75 years is really momentous. It's a very big deal for any business and any sports team. And so our challenge is, how do you wrap your arms around 75 seasons of greatness and all the great players and all the great stories and all of that. It's a challenge for sure.
Mhm. Oh, that sounds great. I mean, first of all, I think everybody could do wonderfully with some months break to just get healthier. I mean,
Yeah.
that's never a bad thing. I think
Bare
everybody's
minimum, yeah.
everybody's so busy all the time, just
Yes.
on the grind, that they don't take the time for themselves to
Yeah.
actually.
Well, thank you. Yeah,
It's
I would agree. And I know it sounds like somebody would say, well, how come you couldn't find a job until then? I did have an opportunity to stay with Bell in a completely different role on the television side. And I just thought, you know what? No, I gotta get right here. I've got to, I've got to get to a better place with my health than I was. And for me to dive back into a high stress job just didn't seem like it was. I'd already been through so much in the previous year and a half.
well, and now you get the chance to have fun. Like
Yes,
you said.
yeah, and I've arrived at that point in my life at my age, and given what I've come through, where I want to do good work, and I do my volunteer work with Brain Care Center, where I'm the past chair, and so I stay active with that, and so I want to where possible, do good work and work with good people who I'm aligned with, and certainly with Evan Dom and the Elks, and having Rick Lawlisher there, who I've known for a very long time, and a guy who I have immense respect for, is let's do this. Let's get cracking on this, and let's have a great season on and off the field, and let's see, in a very small way, if I can help.
So what makes you the most excited about it, for the 75th anniversary, even as a fan or as an extended member of the organization?
That's a great question, and the way you phrased it. What excites me most is, like, I was there 14 years. Certainly not the longest ever serving employee of the club, but I was immensely proud of representing the team in the way I did, working with the players and the coaches, and being part of something that I think matters a great deal in our community. And it's a place, it's a source of pride, I believe, for the fans, and so I think what excites me most is the chance to tell the stories of how the Edmonton Elks and the Eskimos, what they have done. And I know for a lot of people, they know bits of the story, but be able to, and our hope is to be able to bring back a number of the key names. And this is important because these are men of an advanced age. Warren Moon, Hugh Campbell. We were talking about, we've got some people still with us, thankfully, who we will honor and acknowledge for their role in the 50s. You think about that, like Bill, former Edmonton Mayor Bill Smith is still here. He was a star on the 1950s team, and the Jack Parker Jr., son of Jackie, is here, and he's a member of the Eskimo alumni, Double E alumni. And, just, as I say, wrapping your arms around 75 years and to be able to share it with the fans at Commonwealth is I think it's a big challenge, but that's what excites me.
No, and we know you have tons of stories to tell, so that's so exciting.
Oh,
Really,
exactly.
really.
Well, there's the public facing stories, and then there's, I don't know, Alfred Payton in court, that kind of thing.
But getting right back to talking about the alumni, as per that tailgate meeting, we know that the Elks are trying to bring out some big names to celebrate the 75th. Now, I've heard rumors, and I whatever, right? I can only speak intangibles, but
Sure.
let's talk about the things surrounding that.
Okay.
What is your involvement in gathering some of the former Double E players to a season-long celebration like this? Like, I know that we've talked about your role expanding. Are you still handling the alumni piece?
Yeah, I'm still a director on the the EE alumni, and in fact, we just had a meeting. We got one coming up. We're planning our annual wine fest, which is at Commonwealth Stadium, and the proceeds for that go to our player support fund to help players who may find themselves in a position of need at some point. So we provide assistance in that way for those who reach out to us or who are made aware, or we're made aware that they may need some assistance. So that is an event we're getting ready to work on, or we are working on it now, and that'll be, I can tell you this now, June 1st at Commonwealth Stadium. So a week before the season opens, we'll have the Alumni Wine Fest at Commonwealth Stadium in the Quarterback Club. We had it there last year. It was a great success. And, coming back after COVID, we had to revive that event. And I think now, under the leadership of Mark Tobert, we've really got that thing rolling now. And I think that'll be, that's one of the pieces, but that's my alumni hat. But over with the Elks, there's going to be a kickoff dinner I can tell you about, leading, we got the season opener on the 8th, and then dinner and another event on the Saturday. And, it's a build. It's a build to get this city, and it will be by the time we hit, those early days of June, ready for football back at Commonwealth. So that's what I'm going to be devoting my time with Evan. And there's a lot of research that goes into it. You're pouring through, going to the City of Edmonton archives, the provincial archives, trying to, pull out things that we can, either produce video around. We can write pieces that, will live on Go Elks. And, there's just all of the layers to this.
Yes,
And we did notice.
Exciting.
Sorry,
I'm just saying that's exciting because it's something new, right? I mean, now you're introducing history that a lot of the newer audience that you get may not have been ever aware of, and that is a very, very cool piece to all of this, that now you're seeing a whole new generation of fans. Right now you're starting to do that transfer to a newer generation, and a lot of the historical pieces get lost. So bringing all that back in multiple forms, multiple media, videos and stories and writing, it's amazing. So I'm looking forward to all of that.
Well, exactly. And what I think is extremely cool is that they're actually updating the archives on the Elks all-time roster into the 1920s. So, even talking to Superfan Mike, cross-referencing, these names, well, they're a little bit more well-known than the names that Mike has in his collection. But the fact that they're throwing those in there now, it goes to show how big they're trying to build up this 75th. Like, even go past it, try to tap the roots, right?
Well, and here's the interesting thing, and I'm glad you've seen that, and Superfan Mike, God, we owe more than just a simple debt to him, and there are others out there as well who have taken it upon themselves because of their love of the franchise to curate the history.
Yep.
And I could tell you that when I was there, we were moving from the old building into Commonwealth Stadium. If I've told you the story before, forgive me, but I remember we used to store. Now, try to imagine the first job of the receptionist, whoever that may be over the years, was to after they, opened the office, turned on the lights, was to get the newspapers, Sun and Journal, and cut out every article in the sports or elsewhere that concerned the Edmonton Eskimos. And then you would take a large book. I mean, they were huge books, like heavy, heavy duty books. And you would tape or paste that story in there. And then you would stamp the page with the date, the rubber stamp.
Yeah.
And you would go, okay, well, there's Monday. And you would do it again on Tuesday. So try to imagine, I mean, yes, there were days missed, but there were books, and they used to store them in a vault. There was an old bank vault in the old office tucked in right alongside where you could buy tickets. And I don't know if you guys were ever in the old office where they had a little ticket office in there. And that's where the history sat. And I'm not kidding you. You could go in the back and you'd go in the storage area and go, wow, that's a game-worn jersey. Why isn't that either, protected? Why is it just sitting there? And so when we were moving, I grabbed all the books. Well, I didn't grab them. I needed help. I needed dollies to push them out. We took them to the City of Edmonton archives because I thought, well, we've gone this far. We're not set up to properly house the history.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a city-owned team. It is community-owned. Let's turn this stuff over to the archives. And they were really great. And so it's all there now. And, because I, and along with others, I mean, I had full support of everybody to, undertake this project. But it was important because if that stuff goes away and you don't have a super fan Mike and you don't have some of the other people that care, well, where does that go?
Well, exactly. And some of it gets turned into memorabilia, but not all. And I've talked with Mike numerous times, and I've heard the stories of the things that have been thrown out through the years. And
you don't want to know. It'd make you cry. Honestly, it would. Dwayne Mandrusiak was, I mean, just so good at properly looking after that stuff and making sure that at least on his end, it was good. But I can tell you that, for years, back before we were fully conversant in technology. So what I mean by that is, to produce the annual media guide, I would have to drive the pages, and I'm not kidding, out to the printer in the West End.
Mm-hmm.
So you would tend, I started 1998. So, I mean, it's a long time ago now, but I mean, we're not, sending a PDF, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
So, you go, how come I'm missing 3 years of media guides? I need that for, gathering information or whatever. And people chuck them out. They didn't matter. You think, wow, okay, well, let's do a better job of hanging on to our stuff just so we can preserve it.
Yes.
Well, and now those Edmonton Eskimos game guides are worth what? Probably 5 to 10 to even 15 or 20 each.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild, right?
Yes.
I wish they brought them back. To be honest, it was just recently that I realized I was doing some research on the Edmonton Elks website. Yeah. And I noticed that they do have the media guides there, but everything is digital and you have to dig for it. And, and there's just something about, even now when we go to Oilers games or anything, we're always grabbing the guide, the game guide. We take it home. We have it as a little memento or just something to have. So
it's funny. Hearing you guys say those things makes my, my heart sing a little bit because, there's a school of thought now that, just push everything online. Okay, I understand the production costs and, to print a 300-page document is expensive. Mm-hmm. I've done it. I did it for 14 years. I know what it costs in those years, in those dollars, and things haven't gotten cheaper. But I could tell you just from being a broadcaster, and I never did play-by-play, but if you're in the heat of the battle and you need a stat quick, something, a bio note, you don't have time to go online
Mhm.
and
No.
hit www. You just
Mhm.
don't have time. So, when those things go away, while I understand the rationale, I also know the utility in the having to use a document like that. But times change. I mean, Superfan Mike gets kind of misty eyed about the fridge magnet. That I brought in. Like, he goes, when we first met, he goes, "You're the magnet guy." I said, "What?" He goes, "You brought in the fridge magnets." I said, "Well, I brought them back. I didn't invent them."
Mhm.
Yes, he was quite excited.
Oh, yeah, up in the herd chat, actually, Chris Agar in the herd chat.
Yes.
Mike has forgotten more about the double E than I'll ever learn.
Yes.
And then Chris Agar also
Oh.
said, with all the history of this club, it's a travesty to not have a double E Hall of Fame display.
Well, Chris, let me. I mean, I don't have definitive information, but I can tell you that Evan Dom, one of his desires for this year is that we find a way, and forgive me, I'll lapse into we again, is that we find a way to display some items in either the east or west side, call them pods, the areas I'm talking about, and have a little bit of a rotating display of, whatever it may be, a jersey, a helmet, or whatever, so that people can kind of get up close. There's a Jackie Parker game worn jersey that someone came to the club and said, "Look, I have this, and I think the club should have it back. We're leaving town or whatever, and would you take it?" And of course, I think I fell to my knees. It's like well, if you've been in the Parker room, you've seen it, right? It's the green and gold, and it looks like a baby's diaper, the long thing that they used to wear, and so and that is framed. But there's precious little where fans can actually come up and go, "Wow, that's what that helmet looked like in the '60s."
Hmm.
So that's the hope, and we'll try and get there.
I mean, we've been to the Hockey Hall of Fame a couple
Oh,
of
of
times,
course.
at least
Yeah.
myself, right? I've
Yes.
only been there a couple of times, and
Mhm.
every time, even though I'm seeing almost the exact same, features,
Yeah.
it always such a cool thing to experience, right?
Yeah.
Because times are
Yeah.
so different, and
Oh, God,
history
yeah.
is so precious
Yeah.
that if it gets lost, like, where does it go? And I think that's also a way to bridge that gap between some of the older generations and the newer
Mhm.
generations, because I mean, if you don't explain the origins, if you don't show where it started,
Right.
like, how are they supposed to get any sort of idea of what kind of connection are they supposed to build to
Yes.
Yeah,
the sport
Agreed.
team, right?
the brand, exactly. And
The
then
brand.
even then, John, in the herd chat, the Oilers have a Hall of Fame room. Why can't the Elks? And now that you mention it, in the concessions, there's so many different ways that you
Mhm.
can display that gear in a way that you preserve the history, but you also let fans get really close to it, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think again that, well, I don't think, I know, that is the hope, that you may see an area carved out for something like that. It may not be, necessarily in year one as ambitious as what the Oiler Hall of Fame, which is really cool. But that's the hope, that there is a place, a destination for Elks fans to go in and go, "Aha, look at that. It's a Dan Kepley jersey. Oh,
Mhm.
wow, look at that over there." That's the hope.
Yeah, you get to see those holy grail pieces. And even, like, I'm a big Jack Daniels fan. I love Jack Daniels, and I once got to go to the distillery.
Mhm.
And as
Oh,
soon
yeah.
as you walk in the door, you're blasted with the history of Jack Daniels and
Mhm.
the statues of his exact height and the barrels. And we're talking about making whiskey. We're not talking about football, which has a lot more intricacies and a lot more information. We're talking about whiskey,
Mhm.
and
Now,
I
I'm a whiskey drinker, but that particular brand has a storied history and a deep connection for some people, deeper than others.
yes.
Not for me.
Yeah.
Those are bad memories. But
Yeah. Yeah.
But let's bring it back a little bit.
Sure.
As a former member of the Double E organization, you
Mhm.
surely have worked through several milestone seasons
Mhm.
before. Do you have any stories about that? Maybe a favorite memory surrounding a milestone or something? Or are you even more excited about this one that is coming up?
Well, I was there for, let's see, I think my first season, 98, was that 60 seasons or 50? I'm sure we had a huge logo. God, it looked like you could land a small plane on it on our jersey in 1998. Was that 50 or 60? I should know
I
this.
want to say that should be
50 seasons or 60?
50.
No, it was 50. Was it
50.
50?
50. It's got to be 50.
And then I was there for, obviously, I was there 14, so I would have been there for 60. And I know we wore a helmet decal all year that had the thing on it, the 60 logo, which looked kind of cool. But I don't recall we did much around the theming of those seasons. We didn't do something as ambitious as what we're planning to do for 75.
Mhm.
But in terms of milestones, I mean, being there for 2 Grey Cups, 03, well, 3 appearances, but 2 victories, the 03 and the 05, and now, well, you guys certainly what 05 was like. I mean, in terms of how that game played out, it was, if you were there, you won't forget it. If you watched it, you won't forget it. And if you weren't there at all, somebody's told you how amazing that football game was. So, just that was stunning. I mean, I was there for some very difficult things like Jason Tucker's injury that ended his career, and seeing, that up close and seeing how profoundly people were affected. I like to think that if you're around it long enough, you're going to see the very best of what the sport can bring. And I did, in terms of the victories and seeing the camaraderie and how hard it is to win. That's special. Those are things I'll always take with me. And then you're going to witness some of the worst things. I think of the injuries, and I think of, promising careers like Tucker's, and there were some others who, that was it. It was over, and it was done. It was gone like that. Those you don't dwell on them, but you bear witness to them. And so, and the people, like, I think what draws me, and I never played football growing up. I'm ill suited for that sort of. I'm a tennis player and a bad hockey player. I mean, football, I'd be broken in half just putting on the equipment. But what I left the game with is incredible friendships, monstrous respect for people that would do this for a living and do it professionally and do it at the highest level. And it's humbling to see people and be in the company of people who are putting so much of themselves into the sport. And it's one coach, might have been Don Matthews, might have been somebody else, because there's so many sayings that get repeated in football. You're never sure, is that an original line or did you steal that from somebody you worked with? Is football is a simple sport, but it's not easy. And I thought, God, that is so true. It's simple, inherently fairly logical. You march up and down a field. It ain't easy. And that one's always stayed with me.
Oh, that's football poetry. Football.
Yeah. At the time, I'm sure it was yelled during a training camp when someone blew a drill. But at the time, I thought, God, I'm going to write that down because, and then somebody probably repeated it, and, off you go because you just hear things.
Yes.
But that line always stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Well, it's always good to remember, right? That's something that a lot of what do you call it? Armchair coaches.
Yeah.
They're screaming at the TV.
Yes.
When something doesn't go their way, then you got to realize that it may look easy, but it certainly isn't.
Right. Well, I always like to say, yes, you're a fan of the team and you got angry because they couldn't make the first down. But remember, the other guys are trying too. Mm-hmm. So as angry as you're getting, please understand that the nature of this competition is that the other guys are also have, families and mortgages and, all the other things. They too are just as committed to trying to do what it is they're trying to do out there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, exactly. No, that's Everybody's got a job, right?
Yes.
Their job is to make your job hard sometimes. That's
Correct. Correct.
the name of the game. I'm gonna hit the bonus question here because
Sure.
we already had people talking about it in the her chat. Dave, some people may or may not remember, but you were the president for the Edmonton Rush lacrosse team for a year. What can you tell us about that experience?
It was kind of wild. I say that, I left the Eskimos at the time because I wanted a new challenge. I've been there a long time, and it was, a new regime coming in under Len Rhodes, and I just felt like, okay, this is probably, where I should jump off and try something new. So the owner of the Rush, somebody connected him to me, and anyhow, so I took the job. And I love lacrosse. I grew up in Vancouver, as I mentioned earlier, and I played lacrosse for years as a kid and loved the sport. Grew up going to Vancouver Burrards games, New Westminster Salmon Bellies, Coquitlam Adnacks. I mean, those were before I could, get to Canuck games, and they were fairly new in the NHL at the time. I'd go to lacrosse games because it was real close and it was incredible action. And God, people today, you can't conceive of the violence. But all of that said, I was a kid and I thought it was cool. So got this opportunity. And, by the time I got to the Rush, this was a team that had, it launched in the city and lots of buzz. And, but over the years, fans had, wandered away and the brand had kind of eroded. So I came in and we didn't have much budget, but we had a, good staff. They were energetic, but you sort of felt like you were kind of behind the count, if you will, and trying to catch up and trying to repair some relationships in the city. But the team was good, and we got Mark Matthews. That year I was there, we got the best player in the sport in the draft, and he was fantastic. And crowds started to come back a little bit, and we made the playoffs. And so, but the ownership was starting to kick tires on Saskatchewan or Saskatoon. And so got to the end of the season or close to it. And I remember getting a call. We were doing a media availability, and it was a reporter saying, "Hey, listen, we're coming down." We were about to do a news conference of some description. I forget what it was. And I got a call saying, "Hey, look, we're hearing that the team is actively searching, actively looking to relocate. Doesn't like the deal with Northlands, feels like they can't get access to a bunch of things, that the Oilers are kind of freezing them out, so on and so forth." I said, okay. And I was kind of aware a little bit, but hadn't been told by ownership that this was the play. So nothing was said. And then at the end of the season, I got a phone call, and they just said, look, we're going to eliminate the position, and my position, and we're going to run it without a president, kind of strip it down one more layer. And they got through the next year. I mean, they were a good team, so I think they made the playoffs. I don't know what the crowds were like. And then they moved. So they relocated. So I did the year, but I learned so much. Honestly, in that year, I give her 10 months actual, but a season, so much about selling tickets, how hard that is. Learning to work with a venue, Rexall Place in this case, and learning all of the things around game day presentation. I knew a lot from my time with the Eskimos, but to be it's a very small organization, much smaller than the Eskimos. So you were into things that you didn't think, like, wow, I'm the president here, but yes, I am in fact folding up the Canada flag after the anthem and putting it in a container that we put into storage. Oh, okay. I guess I do have to worry about repainting the goal nets. So it sounds kind of weird in hindsight, but I actually learned a lot. It was kind of a cool experience. I don't know if I would do it now, and I probably wouldn't repeat it, but I did learn a lot, and I made some friends out of it that I still know to this day.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
That's cool. So
Yeah.
one of the questions that we had here in the fan forum is, do you think that Edmonton will get a national lacrosse team again? And if so, where do you think they would play?
Well, I think the only place would be Rogers. I know in Vancouver that the Canucks have added the Warriors, Vancouver Warriors, I think in the National Lacrosse League. And lacrosse has a good history, strong history in Vancouver and the West Coast. So I could see how that works. Again, I don't know how they draw, but anyhow, um, I think, like, again, with the proper ownership, so let's call it what it is. If the Oilers bought them to fill out more dates and they thought it was viable, don't forget Oilers, they've got Oil Kings in there, and obviously it's a very robust concert venue, but
Mhm.
you'll always find a way to add some more dates. That's the only way I can see it. I can't see an independent owner putting
Right.
up their hand saying, put me down for whatever a franchise fee is and then all of the associated costs. Let's get after this. Could it work? Yeah, but again, I think only truly with Oiler ownership.
Interesting.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
a
That's
good take.
something I would have no idea about.
Yeah, no clue. But as far as private versus a big corporation,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
a very good point. A big corporation or somebody that already owns sports teams
Mhm.
would
Right.
more likely have to take it into the conglomerate, which here in town, Kate's group is
Well,
one of one basically, let's say Silent Air. What about Silent Air with what those guys are doing, right?
Well, yes. I mean, they're incredible. But I've not met the group, but I know a couple of people that certainly work around them, and their reputation is fantastic. But yeah, again, how big is the venue? And not knowing how the business is scaled, and I haven't. I watch lacrosse when it pops up on TV, and I'll go, "Oh, okay, there's a team in San Diego now," and so I've seen that they've gone to some different places. They're down in the Maritimes, and they're bringing one into Montreal. So, I think that there's opportunity, but why I go back to the Oilers is they've got the infrastructure in place. They've got a sales team. That a lacrosse team gets layered into all of the other things that they can sell. Over and above the Oilers, they got Oil Kings, and I'm sure there's some other properties that I'm just not thinking of right now. So they inherently have a leg up. You don't have to build it from the ground up. You add it, you plug it in. Where does it fit? Off you go. Salaries aren't, terribly, I mean, they're significant, but they're not, anything you probably couldn't absorb. But you'd have to, does the business model work? And
Yeah.
I can't answer that.
No, and that's
That'd
I
be
think
cool.
that's the biggest question of all. Well, no,
Yeah.
you didn't get to see
No.
the Edmonton Rush days,
No,
right?
I did
Whereas
not.
the Edmonton Rush days, I didn't make it in.
Yeah.
Like, tried to make it in last minute, and it was
Mhm.
one of those, next year. And next year was the move. And
then next year it did not happen.
no, exactly. And out in Saskatoon, they're doing absolutely fantastic as
Yeah.
the season.
Yeah, they've really found, and it was all instantaneous. They arrived, added green to their jerseys, and they were off and running. And they had a good team. They had Mark
Yeah.
Matthews was still there, and so they landed and right out of the box, and then they sold to the Priestner Group. They were sold, the owners of the Saskatoon Blades, and again, synergies there. They absorbed them, and they've really found a great spot for themselves out there.
Nice.
That's cool.
That'll
Yeah,
be-
we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, there's nothing wrong with adding a little bit more sports to Edmonton, but obviously it has to be feasible and it has to be
Mhm.
viable. And
Yeah, and it has to
Oh,
stay, right?
Yeah.
We saw what happened with the Edmonton FC
Yes.
hey, they're back.
football club
They're back.
multiple times. Right, round 3 or
Round
4. I mean, these poor Eddies, and I'm somebody that wants to see the Eddies last, but I think for Edmonton, you kind of have to have one of those leagues that is, well, you know what, Riverhawks. No, Riverhawks. That league is not extremely major, and the
No.
Riverhawks are absolutely killing it.
They are. They
Both
did a
Yes.
wonderful job last year with their marketing team and just getting more people in the seats. They were fantastic at that for sure.
Right.
Chris Agar's comment in the her chat: the rush in Edmonton was a fantastic one-night stand with a confusing ending.
Agree. Sounds
That's a
like
great description. Yeah, I guess it was a confusing ending for, and I'll take myself out of it. I mean, I've been fired from other things. And so that's, I don't take it personally, but it just kind of withered and then they were gone.
Yeah, no, that's
sad
it was a sad ending, but hey, as long as they're happy elsewhere, they're
Yes. And
successful elsewhere,
successful, and they are. Yeah.
and the legacy lives on, especially the organizational piece, because whenever a team moves, that history still goes with, right? So Edmonton had to happen for Saskatchewan Rush to succeed. That does happen in life. Before we finish up the more you didn't know, do we have any other herd chat questions?
Take a look.
Early on, that's going to be something for your herd report. 19 days. Yeah. This is a bit of a general one, but I mean, we're going to talk about this more in the herd report once you jump off. But what does Dave think of people not necessarily getting the tailgate spots that they wanted, or next to people? Which now you have this gig with the Elks, so it's hard to say if you can even answer that. But basically, I guess if we were to try to rephrase this to a more friendly question, what do you think of the tailgate this year, and have you seen the configuration at all, and have you seen the plans for it?
Well, I have, and I'm not I'm not authorized to answer on behalf of the club about this stuff. I know, the tailgate people have had a couple of opportunities, right? Different groups to meet with learn more about the new configuration. I said this I would go to tailgate last year before I would go into the alumni room. And let me go way back. So when I was with the club, I was sent drawing the shortest of short straws to go to a number of community meetings around. It was just before the parking ban was brought in the surrounding area. So there was a number of, Parkdale, Cromdale. And so I went to some community league meetings to represent the club, along with some city officials and Commonwealth Stadium officials. And they had, really coalesced, and they were angry because they had for years and years and years had fans leave games, were disrespectful. They were, with garbage and behavior and all of this stuff. And so we listened, and there were, lots of comments, and there was a fair bit of anger directed at me, and because I'm with the club and so on and so forth. So that's a skip forward many years. The club we tried to go to the city. Could we do tailgating? Please. Look what they do in Calgary. Nobody, it's all very fun down there. Nothing happened in my time. And I will give full credit to Len Rhodes and the people that were working there at the time. They really were able to bring the city around and say, look, this can be done. We'll start small over there is that B-Lot? No, B-Lot is where it's going.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Alongside the stadium on the west side, there were the mobile television trucks and all that. People who know it. So, when I went back after COVID and then saw what tailgate had become, like it had become a community, and I knew it was going on before COVID, and the guys in the turf district and would talk about, and I'd see Superfan what he was cooking and all that stuff and getting ready for it, and I go, God, there is something happening in tailgate that is really cool. And so just go last year and see what you guys are doing, and we met up over there, and then Spirit of Edmonton, and seeing their involvement and the bands playing and just the buzz. I maintain that if you want to put your finger on the pulse of what Elks fandom looks like, feels like, who's out there, you go to tailgate. I know it's a long walk around if you come off the LRT, but man, it is worth it when you get there. That is what gets you excited to go inside the stadium. I know some people don't even get inside. They just stay there and party
Yeah.
because it's that good.
Mhm.
And so I applaud the best things are organic, I think,
Mm.
that the people like yourselves have grown it, nurtured it, done all the right stuff. And now, because of the work you guys have put in and all the tailgaters, they're moving to a bigger area. And now it may not suit everyone's needs and there may be challenges. I don't dispute that. There always are. I mean, these things happen. But that tells you that's working.
Yeah.
Whatever else happens, can't control, there's a football operations department, a coach, players, they look after that.
Mhm.
And that's sort of, out of the control, if you will, of the club. And this is something that is fan driven with club support. And it's just so cool to see.
Mhm.
Like
Oh,
I think it's the best thing that's happened to Commonwealth, probably, I don't know, since new seats went in.
A
Seriously, seriously.
long time
I
ago.
was going to say new turf, but then people get angry and they want the grass back. But let's say new seats. It's the best thing.
no, and we thank you for those words. I think one of my favorite memories last year was Kathy and I finishing up, getting our stuff together. We were scrambling and we were late.
Mhm.
And we're scrambling in and we run into you. You
Yeah.
got your double E gear on. We
Yeah.
got our double E gear on. And we
Mhm.
get to say hey in the tailgate for once. And you've been through and you haven't been in any of your regalia. You came through, I believe, on the 1260. Yes.
Right. Yes, that's right.
That was another memorable one. Every time I run into you at the tailgate, it's memorable,
Mhm.
Dave. But no, it was just one of those magical moments where it was like, we just finished up. We did our work out here in the tailgate, and now we get to sit down and do the sport ritual. And
Yeah.
Yes.
that's where it's at. Is putting in a little bit of work, having an absolute blast with everybody, and
Mhm.
this year it being 3 hours before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Whew, beautiful. So,
And you know what?
very
For
exciting.
those people that are complaining that they might have not gotten their first pick, or
Mhm.
maybe they're not right beside the friends that they want, maybe this is an opportunity for them to kind of step out of their bubble and talk to their
Yeah.
neighbors a little bit more, make some new friends, and you know, try to enjoy the whole thing. The tailgate as a whole, not necessarily just as their own little private party with their own little friends, right? Not
Well, it's a funny thing because I think I probably got this stat wrong. I think 60% of the people that go to Commonwealth Stadium come in through gate 9. Is that the one by the LRT? That corner?
Yes, yes,
think so.
yeah.
Which
It is.
makes sense, right? Because you're moving all those people off the LRT and now they come in the gate that's closest. I get that entirely. And I've told people that, while I understand that, that if you're able and you have the energy and you get there with enough time to somehow get your way around all the way around and just drop anchor for 20 minutes. Give yourself some time because it got to be great if you can tailgate right the way around the building because then the atmosphere, because it all starts outside. If you're feeling good on the outside, you're coming through those doors and you're in a good mood when you hit your seats, and that helps with the buzz. It does. I will not be. I can't be convinced otherwise. All of that stuff matters, and so all of what you guys do out there is a big part of setting the scene at Commonwealth Stadium 10 nights a year.
Oh no, thank you, but you're going to be setting the tone for a
No.
lot more this season. So,
It's an exciting season, just
oh,
with everything. We do have one last question here from Chris. Do you have an opinion on EE private ownership?
that's a good question.
Well, it is. I'm grateful. At least on a level, again, with no knowledge, and nor should I, because I'm there to work on projects, and this isn't one of the projects. I am supportive of anything that will allow the club to remain viable, that will ensure its long-term financial health. And so, if after all of the work that's being done is concluded and the path forward is private ownership, and that is properly researched, which I'm quite confident it will be. No one's going to enter into this. This is not a franchise that has been imperiled as some others have. Montreal was sold a couple of times in quick succession. It's moved. We know the history of some of the teams in this league. Edmonton has been an island of stability. And now however, things do end, things do change. If that is deemed the best way forward, then I'm supportive. Because ultimately, I think what any of us who care about the team want is for the team to exist.
Yeah,
so what's the best way? When I was there, community ownership was a great source of pride. There were only 3 teams: Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Saskatchewan. And we had great success in Edmonton, large crowds, best stadium in the league, wonderful corporate partnerships and support. And again, we won a lot. 34 straight years in the playoffs. Think about it.
Yes.
So you could almost set your watch. I mean, some years better than others, obviously. We know that. When you'd go, well, we know they're going to be good. We know that they're going to be on some level. They may not win the Grey Cup, but they're going to be good. I know that if I, buy my tickets, I will go and I will see good football. I will be proud of the team. They'll represent us well in the community because they are community owned, and there was a deep connection there. But, it's 2024, and some of those things may not mean as much today. But I think where I go to is what gives this club the best chance for success, financial and competitive.
I agree. Times are changing, and we got to go with the times, right? So if the same process that we have been running for years is not working, then something's got to change. And I'm sure that they have that in mind, and whatever it is that the decision is, it will be for the betterment of the team.
For the better of the team.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna close the herd chat on the questions. They're still rolling in, guys. Thank you so much for blowing up the herd chat. We have one last question, then we will let you jump off here, Dave, and then we still have a herd report and some Beer Fest tickets to give away.
Yes.
So we still got a whole other stack to the show. But Dave, before you jump off, we got to know what else is on the horizon for Dave Jamieson. Will your time be mostly taken by the 75th, or are you still moving forward with your media career or projects? And I know you spoke a little bit on this, but cancer in the room, that was a big deal. Still is a big deal.
Well, it's I'll answer it this way. I have been kicking tires on, I've arrived at I'm 62 now, and having gone through what I've gone through the last 2.5 years, it'll be 3 years June 5th since my diagnosis. You do a lot of reevaluation and trying to best understand, like, what can I take on that I'm going to enjoy, is also going to leave me enough time that I can continue to be healthy. And I have to be careful. I'm not, I don't live my life afraid of my cancer returning. I just have to be very aware of what is, changes that may be occurring in my body, and take quick action if there is something that is problematic. But that said, I think I'm entertaining offers, contract work, that kind of thing. I really don't want to lock in on anything too terribly long term right now, because I still want to take a little bit of time. I mean, that sounds selfish, I guess, on some level, but I've got to look after I've really got to look after myself. If I learned anything out of all of this, is you have to self-advocate for your health. And that I have to be the first to speak up about it if something's not right, which I did, thankfully, mercifully. And so, I've gotten a lot more energy than I did 7 months ago, and a lot more strength, and a lot more, I'm in a better place physically and mentally. So I think now I'm ready to take on more. What that more is, I don't exactly know.
Oh, that's awesome. And I mean, see, like the number one word that comes to mind is warrior, right? Like, when you're talking about on the turf, Michael Riley, he was a warrior, right? But off the turf, think about Dave Jamieson. Warrior. Like,
well,
seriously, man. And like, you know, even like you were on the show for like an hour and a half or 2 hours last time you were on. And to look back at it, right? In hindsight, like, holy crow, man. You were doing a lot. You were on 1260. You were just off of 1260. You made a triumphant return, and like you said, that became a 4-hour show, right? So,
well, you know, there is ego in there too, and I'm the first to admit it. Like, it was when you do that for a living, and I've been in media since my early 20s, you know, starting in Vancouver and doing that, and then going off air and managing Ched and doing the stuff I did with the Eskimos. You know, I'm guilty of, I think, when you're in that public facing kind of line of work, you have a certain ego, and you need it. Part of it is necessary to doing, who really, when you think about it, God, to go and sit in a glass box and talk sometimes to yourself for 4 hours. Like, God, who does, what normal person does that? So that, anyhow, that, all of that said, you know, I think as I said, you know, at the outset, it gave me a goal. You know, I sort of did. I had a little bit of a depth chart. I'm going to survive. That's my box number one. Let's see if we can hang in and try and get a couple more trips around the sun here. So, okay, do that, and then the next was work. Like, I will return to work, and okay, did it, but what probably pushed it, and I had some people that were helping me with my rehabilitation stuff. They're like, "Are you sure you're ready?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you gotta go." You know, next man up. Like, okay, all of that was really cool in theory, and it did help drive, but I sometimes I think I may have pushed it a little too hard.
Well, you got to know your limits, right? And I mean,
yeah,
I think we're all in that.
Self-regulation, it's a bit of a problem here, if you know what I mean.
And I think we all kind of have that, right? And I mean, sometimes you talk about ego as a bad thing, but sometimes it is the ego that drives us to push ourselves to the point that we know that we're happy with the progress that we have made, and then we can take a step back, right?
Yes.
So I think I'm happy that you've gotten to that. We're happy that you've gotten to that point.
Thank you, guys.
You've checked off your boxes. Now you can take the time to be healthy and enjoy yourself. I
gotta return to. I may end up just playing one shift, but I want to go back and play hockey one more time. I said I wanted to play tennis, and I've done it many times because it's the sport I love, and so I've done that a number of times. So that was great. After a 19-year break, I couldn't believe it. Went out at the U of A, and the guy I was hitting with, he said, "You know that we played in 05. We were a doubles team." And I went, "Oh, wow, that long, eh?" And he goes, "Yeah, and you're trying to come back after your illness." So I wasn't very good, but it was, again, another box to check. Like, oh, good, I did that, you know.
I love
the boxes.
Yes.
No, hey, that's a good sign, right? And you know, even dry Feb, like you said, that's probably another box you get to check off as well.
Well, and happy, and you know, I know we were chatting before we rolled tonight. You know, God, who would have thought I'd be sitting here comparing notes on alcohol-free drinks? You know, alcohol-free beer. I'm like, wow, yeah, that is a change.
For us, it's one of those conversations is like, you know, that you've hit, you know, your 30s, past 30s, when now you're like, okay, so which non-alcoholic beer tastes better?
Yes.
It's a process of growing up, Dave. We're just all
yeah, you guys got to it early. I am a late learner, slow learner, and but I'm getting there. So anyhow.
Oh no, yeah, sorry guys, that was before we went live. We were comparing these notes, which of course, Dave, you know I'm gonna get my favorite list, and Kathy will compile.
Yes,
we will swap notes on non-alcoholic beer. But Dave, you've been on for over an hour. We cannot thank you enough for joining us on the show tonight. This was awesome, man. We could always talk more, but we still have a whole nother half a show.
Yeah, you guys go. I don't want to be a drag on the proceedings, but you know that I love coming on here and getting the chance to talk, wrap ourselves in green and gold. And, you know, I hope we'll get a chance to do this again. And, you know, once we get to March 25th and we get everything out in the open and the bright light and say, this is what we're doing. And we can share the story a little more in more detail. I'm happy to come back and spend a bit of time and we'll really dive into this stuff.
Oh,
Let's do it.
beautiful.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, we would
Can't
love to
wait.
have you back on. Yeah, even Chris Agar in the chat, always appreciate your insight, Dave. He says cheers. So yeah, everybody loves seeing you on the show. So yeah,
Oh.
once again, thank you so much, Dave.
Thanks to you guys and thanks to everybody joining tonight. It's a real pleasure to come back and do this kind of stuff.
Oh, well, we'll be sure to have you on again real
Yes.
soon. Couple months, Dave.
Okay. Take care, guys.
Have
You
a
as
good
well.
night.
Cheers,
You
Dave.
too.
And that was Edmonton media royalty Dave Jamieson.
We'll have to get him a crown. No.
Today, we are joined by University of Alberta Golden Bears football defensive line coach Brent Korte, former U of A Golden Bear safety Terry Korte, and former Golden Bear and current Edmonton Elks center number 65, Mark Korte. Guys, we can't thank you enough for joining the show today.
All right,
Great,
thanks for having us.
We're going to be running into this. Everybody's.
I set it up for that. It's beautiful. We wanted to do the show for a while now, so there's not too many opportunities to have three members of a notable Canadian sports family on the same episode. So, yeah, we're absolutely thrilled. Now, first off, we'd like to thank everybody for tuning in, whether you're watching on Shotgun Sports Network on YouTube or on Facebook or on X, or if you're listening on TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Edmonton Sports Talk, or wherever you get your podcasts. While we're here, if you could hit the like, subscribe, and or favorite button, we would greatly appreciate it. All right. Today's show lineup for another stacked show,
Another one.
is as follows. We're going to open up with the more you didn't know with the Kortes. Then we'll dig into Kathy's Herd Report, talking about the latest Edmonton Elks transactions and news. Following that, we'll give you an Edmonton sports update with some help from Len, and then we'll cap the show with the fan forum where we discuss hot topics surrounding the Elks, the CFL, and the sports world as a whole. Be sure to blow up the herd chat so you can get your comments and questions on to the show.
Mm-hmm.
Let's kick it off with the more you didn't know, brought to you by the Winnipeg Terminal. Catch the flight with Mike and Joe every Wednesday, talking all things Jets and Bombers on Shotgun Sports Network. Wheels up. Today, we're chatting with the Kortes about a number of things, including their family legacy, the rise of Edmonton's tailgate scene, and what it's like growing up as a sports family in Alberta. Once again, throw your questions into the herd chat, and we'll do our best to get them on to the show. Brent, we talked a bit about your upbringing the last time you were on the show, but there is so much more to the Korte story. What would you say began your family's sports legacy? Like, how far back does the Korte story go?
Oh, that's a loaded one, but like I don't know. I'm sure Terry would say the same thing. I think from the time we could run, we were tackling each other, throwing the ball at each other, that sort of thing. But I think it goes back to we have a lot of family in Saskatchewan, and they play a lot of baseball, curling. Play a lot of hockey, a lot of sports, and still do. And so just as we were growing up, and our dad was a big baseball player, so we were around the ball field quite a bit. But I know we were talking about this just a little bit earlier. As kids, Terry and I would grab either our older brother Chris or someone else in the neighborhood and play on the vacant lot right next to our place in Peace River and tackle each other and do whatever we could to be active. So. Started early.
Nice, and it's more than Alberta then, right? Like Terry, what would you be able to add to that?
Well, yeah, like I would say dad for sure. Lots of stories of dad and followed him to the ballpark when we were kids, watching lots of that. But just, yeah, part of it I think is growing up in a small town and playing all the sports. In the 2000s here, a lot of kids, they'll specialize pretty early. But when you're in a small town, you can. I mean, not just everybody. I mean, I thought we were pretty good athletes, but I think everybody made the team, right? High school, junior high basketball, volleyball, football, whatever. If you came out, you were on the team, right? And so everybody got to play. So that was a really big part of it. So all your friends, who you went to school with, everybody played, right? And so part of that was just growing up in that small town in Peace River. Our brother played football before us. He decided to go play junior hockey and left town, and went and did that. We both liked football a little bit better, so we decided to play a little bit of basketball, but played football, went to U of A. So yeah, it was just a great place to grow up in Peace River, nice small town. And I think Mark had a similar kind of experience in Spruce Grove, playing lots of different sports.
Nice.
Mark, did you grow up playing a lot of football with your dad and your uncle and your family?
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of one of those things that it was, I followed my older brother, and my older brother kind of saw pictures of dad on the wall playing football. So yeah, we all just kind of followed each other a little bit. And growing up, it was kind of like what Terry was saying. It was like, okay, in the winter we're gonna play hockey, and then when spring comes around, then it's baseball season one year, and then football in the summer, and then hockey starts again in the fall, and it's like whatever's going on, we're involved in. And so, getting a chance to kind of sample around, and yeah, my brother and I kind of followed that journey, both playing at the U of A, and had some good cousins. Had Terry's kids, Kate and Jack, to play around at grandparents' Christmas in Olds, Alberta. We'd all get out there, and so yeah, it was just that was just what we did as a family, right? Some families do other things. We played sports. So it's kind of one of those things from a young age.
That's awesome. And we thoroughly believe in that. We try to do that for our boys as well, be as involved as possible and active. And in many ways, I'm very thankful they didn't like hockey. Just a little too expensive, but it is super important. And just keeping active and doing things as a family. And if you can do it as a family unit instead of just telling them to go play or go take a class, then it's just increases that bond. So, but all three of you came through the University of Alberta Golden Bears football program, with Brent currently coaching the D line there. So how was your experience with the U of A, and how much pride do you take in being a Golden Bears alumni members? We can start with Terry.
Oh, well, and I'm involved in the Alumni Association now. So you've been at the tailgate that we started doing last year. And, long and storied history. When Brent and I were in university, I think our third year, we actually rented or lived with Forrest Kennard, who was like 1980 Vanier Cup MVP. So the history was there. He played with Blake Durham. Anyway, a lot of the history he brought from the late 70s and 80s. We got to know him really well. Brent's good friends with Garrett now, who played in that earlier era just before them. In the Korte era, the first generation Korte era of the Bears football, there was a lot of thin seasons there. We were, I think, 1-7, 1-6-1. I think we were 0-4, but we had a couple of decent winning seasons. But back in the day, only the top two teams, if I remember right, made the playoffs. So we never did get to a playoff game. But like everybody who plays, sports for a while tells you, it's about the connections you make and the friends you make. So I'm super proud of the people I met there. It was awesome playing with my brother, and the people we got to know. I'm still friends with lots of them. And then being part of the Alumni Association now, I get to meet some guys that are a little older, a lot of guys that played with Mark, or a little later even. So that's good to kind of bring that community together, and all that one kind of touchstone you can lean on to say, yeah, you all been through it. You know what it's like. You've had good seasons, you've had bad seasons, you had the bumps and bruises. And so that's great to be part of that community. And so with the Alumni Association, we're just trying to really build that up and get more people out to games, because we know this season the Bears they're just building, and they're going to have a great season too.
Oh, totally. Yeah. No, it's to see what you guys are building, and we're going to get to that in a moment. The playoffs, to see the Golden Bears back in the playoffs, and especially at home, it was great to see how many alumni members came out. I know that that tailgate, we saw you there, Mark. You made an appearance, and a lot of other members as well. So any time you get to see that celebration over at the University of Alberta, which we haven't for so long, right?
I mean, how rewarding was that?
Yeah.
For you guys, how rewarding was seeing the U of A reached the playoffs and
Mark.
being able to experience
Yeah,
it.
Mark, what did you think?
Yeah, it was great. It was, very, I think the second generation of Kortes at U of A football was unfortunately similarly lean to the first generation. Me and my
Something
brother.
common there. What's the common thread? Huh?
Yeah, maybe we're the black cloud there, but we went through a couple rough years of rebuild there. My brother and I, and now they've kind of made it out of that, and they're really doing a great job and putting together a great product. And so it's really special as an alumni to be able to go back and just reconnect with guys, whether it's at the tailgate or at alumni events. And like Terry said, I mean, if there's people that I played 1 year with, and then they graduated, and then we see each other 10 years later at a tailgate, and it's like we're best friends, and we've got something to connect over. And I think we're all proud of it. And we all kind of felt like, obviously we're not on the field and we're not really part of it, but we still felt like, a part of us was still there, as now they're like being a playoff team, getting to the Hardy Cup, going through that. So it's a really cool feeling to see them grow like that.
Oh, well, and I mean, we really would love to see you playing some football at around that time as well, but it's also magical to see you down there supporting the team as well. So, no matter what, I guess it's a bit of a win-win, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of the team this past season, your dad is obviously coaching. What has it been like having a coach for a dad and an uncle who also played football? And then, of course, getting to connect with them still through the U of A.
Yeah, it's incredible. Honestly, it's so good to have people around you that that really understand what it's like to be a player and to go through a season. And it's really something that a lot of people get it, but it's a different type of get it for people that have lived it and played at a high level. So I know Dad and I always kind of have, whether it's Bears games or Elks games, a little debrief call afterwards. That I think sometimes both of us are kind of like, oh man, now I got to live the whole thing again. But it's really great, and just to have people around you that understand and that live football and just get the game is really a unique thing that I think sometimes I can take for granted, because I've got a dad and an uncle and a brother and all these people that are in that world, and not everybody has that, and so I'm always super thankful for it.
Yeah, totally. Brent, do you go into coach mode whenever Mark is about to have a game? Do you?
I try and stay in fan mode. I can't totally get out of coach mode, but for the most part, I stay in fan mode, and I'm looking forward to some November games as well for both teams this fall. But no, I enjoy the games and get into fan mode. But you always look at little things, you kind of think of, or that you pick up in the game. And Terry would be the same, just from having played at a high level, not the same level that Mark's playing at right now, of course, but still, you see things in offense or in defense or different things that happen that are fun to see.
If Mark wants the real debrief after game, he's got to call his grandma, because we call my mom and Mark's grandma, we call her the commissioner, because she's been watching football for so long. Like, think of how many games she's watched. She's got other grandkids. My brother Chris's grandkids and his son Michael played football, and lots of football. So she's seen hundreds of games, and yeah, she'll be the one who'll kind of like be giving us the inside advice.
Yeah, and she'll give the she knows all the updates that are happening across the league, and why did this team sign this guy, and all those sorts of things. So she's on top of it.
Future podcast guest there.
I know, that's what I was gonna say. We should have had Grandma over here.
I believe we've met her at the tailgate.
Yes,
so
we have.
awesome lady.
But talk about the tailgate.
Speaking of tailgate,
the tailgate scene in Edmonton is just getting bigger and bigger every year. Terry and Brent have been holding down the Elks tailgate with, when Mark hits the field, they're there doing their fan service and, building the tailgate and putting one of the best tailgate spots that we've ever seen. Really, I think it expands for like 5, stalls or something like that.
Yes.
It's
Yes. The
pretty
row of
intense.
stalls. Yes.
So, what are your thoughts on the new tailgate expansion for 2024? Are you excited about the new spot? What are you thinking?
So I can start. Like I think totally very excited about it. I think I like the new space. We were right in front of the band, which was really good, and we had, as you say, had a lot of people there. The one nice thing where we are now, we have a couple more stalls together, so we're like 3 and 2 across. So we'll have even a bigger little Korte block, I think, as we're calling it, but. Like maybe to bridge the last part of the conversation on this one around alumni, like one of the other guys, Garrett, you've met Garrett. He's he's part of our tailgate group, and he was the first one that had a tailgate spot before Terry and I did. And Dave McKinnon, who's the guy that Terry and I played with the Bears back in the late '80s, way back. He was an offensive lineman, and he coached Mark as well. He was a high school coach in Ardrossan, and coached Mark in an All-Star game. But he's the barbecue king. Dave's the barbecue king. Like some of the stuff that he's put together has been fantastic. So that's kind of an alumni bridge too into. But we see a lot of alumni, a lot of Bears alumni come to the tailgate, and it's a lot of fun, great energy. But yeah,
part of it that gets the energy up is just we have a pretty big family. Like both of our parents have 6 and 7 siblings and lots of kids and anyway. So yeah, that's why there's so many. It's busy, right? Family and friends, and it's a lot of people. So we're actually very thankful that it's moved away from the band now, and we've actually got a little more space. Yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah.
Oh, we had mentioned that on the last the episode with Brent there, our last episode with Brent, about how it sucked that you guys were right in front of that stage. And the
It's a
speakers were
good thing and not a
blasting.
bad thing. It really pumps up the energy. It's a really good feel when there's really good music and everybody's around you, but at the same time you can barely hear
Yeah.
yourself.
Great bands, great music all the time, right? The bands they bring in are, people don't realize that. I would go to a bar to listen to that band any night of the week, and we get to listen to them at our tailgate before the game, which is awesome.
Shout out Tall Boy. What stall, Brent, are you guys in? Sorry again.
Terry, you
Around
probably
99, right around 99. It's the middle kind of
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that is like the Korte core.
Right in the middle of the action. I love it. I really do.
But
yeah,
Mark,
rocking lots of 65 jerseys in that group, right? For sure.
it was only 100. You only had to sign 100, right, Mark?
Yeah, I think I might have lost count, but Terry was really the one that organized it all. But yeah, it's so great to have such a good crew of family there that it's always, we kind of laugh about it sometimes that like I'll never really get to see it in its full force. But it's so cool to see, after the game, see a picture of everyone crowded around and having a good time. So yeah, it's incredible what it's turned into over the last 2 years.
No, totally. It's really built up. It is one of those fan built sort of pieces. The Elks are doing it better this year. I like some of the rules, the 45 minute to an hour rule. They're cutting people off. They're prorating people in. There's a lot of positives that they're doing. Another big positive, though, is the tailgate down at U of A. Terry, I know that you're spearheading the campaign. Mark, you finally got to enjoy a tailgate in Edmonton, not by means of injury or anything like that. It was very natural. So, what are your thoughts on the tailgate scene now happening down at Foot Field? We'll start with Mark.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think this is, maybe a little bit of a niche crowd that would understand this, but actually there was one kind of back in the day that was started up by Dad and by a few of our friends. We had a group of high school guys that all ended up going to U of A together, and those parents, Dad being one of them, sort of started this little tailgate going. And then now it's kind of grown and it's more of an alumni, and a lot of the same people, Terry included, that do a really good job at the Elks tailgate have brought it to the U of A. And it was great to see it there at Foot, and good to take part in it, and get some good food, get a drink, and just enjoy the people and have a chance to hang out before the action starts.
Well, Catherine and Scout, you know how it is. Like once you have all your stuff, right, and you got it. Like Brent, I know. I think he uses Mark's truck to do it, but so Garrett Gall, Dave McKinnon, and I have our stuff ready to go. So for us to go from a Saturday Elks game or a Friday Elks game to a Saturday Bears game, roll up there, unload it. I mean, the beer's still cold in the cooler from the night before, right? And you just kind of, Dave's got the grill going. We set that all up. So it is something that we're trying to build as the alumni, because for alumni, unlike for university sports, they're not fully funded what they need from the university. They get funding from the university for sure, but we raise funds through bingos and silent auctions. The gala we're having. We don't raise money at the tailgate. We also have a golf tournament too. So we have events that are social events. We want to, engage those people that maybe we haven't seen for a long time, that maybe come out to one or two events and they get engaged. They still live in the city, and then they come to events like our gala, which we have coming up here I'm going to plug the gala. April 28th is our gala, and it's all the info about it is on gbfalumni.com. It's our Golden Bear or you search for Golden Bear football alumni. Lots of good football. I think Mark's and the Elks have donated some awesome prizes, a signed jersey like the one behind me if you want one. Justin's donated a jersey. Carter O'Donnell's donated a jersey. I think Jaden Dalkey's donated a jersey. Helmets, tons of football, Edmonton football stuff there. So that's coming up. So we raise lots of funds, and again, the tailgate is just for getting people out and just having a good time.
Oh, definitely. And I love that. I'm not saying anything about Edmonton Elks games, but I'm going to be perfectly honest. And that playoff game that I watched at the U of A Golden Bears has been the most exciting football game that I have ever seen in my life. It was really good football. And I've talked to Scout about it, and there's something to say about university football, and when you're not necessarily so worried about injuries, and you just want to put it all out on the line and go all out and win for your team. And there's something to say about that type of football, and it was so exciting. And it is my hope that we get to go to more games this year. It is my hope that we bring the boys to more games now that, the boys are super interested in football. But also, get a little bit more people going to those games, because, you usually just see family, friends, alumni, teachers, but you don't necessarily see a bigger crowd coming to see exciting football. So
yeah, bring the noise and bring the hype, right? That's part of what we do. We also love to share Golden Bears posts. Love that organization over there. So yeah, go Bears. Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Love it. It's in your name. It's in your name, Brent.
That's right.
So moving on from the Golden Bears, Mark, you were drafted by Ottawa. So did the family dynamics change a bit when you went from the U of A Golden Bears over to the Ottawa Red Blacks?
Yeah, good question. It was, it was the biggest change, family-wise, was I had lived at home all through university, because we lived, it was like a half-hour drive to U of A. So the first time I moved out of my parents' house was to go to Ottawa to play for them. So that was sort of a huge shakeup. But you know what? It was great. Even then, we had when Ottawa came to play in Edmonton, we had a tailgate, had a bunch of people out. Really, it was like a little bit of a warm up tailgate experience. So it was great. I'm fortunate to have family kind of scattered around the country. Some in Saskatchewan, some of my wife's family in BC. And obviously, some great family members that wanted to visit Ottawa and got a chance to come out and see a game there. So it was great. It was really smooth, largely because of some great family members. Yeah.
Nice. And then was it special coming back to Edmonton to play against the Eskimos Elks?
Yeah, it really was. You know what? I had it was kind of surreal, right? Because you had kind of grown up your whole life in football, like dreaming about, playing for the team, which now I've gotten a chance to live that dream. But then it's kind of odd when now you've got to come into the stadium and you're like, okay, now I'm going to like beat these guys, or at least try to. And it's just this weird dynamic of it's like you're part, living a dream and you're playing in Commonwealth Stadium, but now you're kind of playing for the wrong team that you were cheering against all those years. And so, it's a lot of emotions to handle the first time. And so, and the advice that a lot of guys give and that, now I give to guys when they go back to their hometown, it's like, for a certain amount of time, you've just got to take it in and experience it because you're only going to get to do it once. But you've got to balance that with, okay, we got a game to win here. And we need you to kind of, figure that out as well. So, especially the first time coming back to Edmonton was something really unique and was a lot for sure.
Nice.
Brad, Terry, did it hurt a little bit having to cheer for Ottawa during those times? Just a little bit.
Maybe just a little. I think the fact that Mark was fulfilling a dream and playing in the CFL, that was it was exciting. That was exciting in its own right. So yeah, it was still wore that Red Blacks jersey proud for those 3 years that he was there for sure.
No,
That's great. That's great. And I mean, now you don't have that problem anymore, and now everybody's living the dream. But that's
There we
something
go.
about family, right? And you just support your kids, whatever they're doing, just be happy for them. But I mean, talking about kids and all of that, Alberta and even Canada's grassroots programs could really use a lot of improvement, right? You don't necessarily see a lot going on, but now I guess now you do. You do see a few programs going around. The Edmonton Elks have been amazing at going and visiting schools and having kid camps and trying to grow that grassroots, program. For example, again, one of our sons has Colby Herford as his teacher. He is, he's playing right now currently in the Golden Bears. What's his position? Sorry.
He's a wide receiver.
Wide receiver for the Golden Bears. So he has been super excited. He's been talking about Colby, Mr. Herford all the time. He actually got confused saying that he was playing for the Edmonton Eskimos, and we spent a good 20 minutes trying to figure out exactly who Mr. Herford was based on the description that he gave us. And then we figured out that he was actually a Golden Bear player. So and now he wants to go see him play at Food Field, right? So it's
Awesome.
that excitement, bringing that excitement and into kids. So what would you say, how would you improve the Canadian football grassroots movement?
Well, one of the things I would say is, so I do think, to your point, I think there are a lot of things going on. Like the Elks have done a ton, and I know Mark's done some of it where he's spoken in schools and some of his teammates as well, and kind of at all ages. And then they have little flag programs and things like that. Shout out to the Bears. Like the Bears actually do, excuse me, a number of camps through the winter and in the summer for all ages from about 6 up. Some of them are flag, and even during the season, actually, maybe just an idea for your kids during the football season on Sundays, they have a flag program for kids, all different age groups, and it's our players that coach them.
Oh.
That coach them. And I think they play like 6-on-6 or something like that. But I know the kids have a ton of fun through that. But there are things that are happening, and maybe they can be better promoted and stuff like that. So that's maybe part of it.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, I didn't know about that.
No,
So
yeah.
now that I do, and maybe I should have worded it that way, because I know that there are things that are happening out there in Edmonton. I know there are a lot of things that are, the Elks and other organizations are putting on. We just don't know about it, right? So
Yeah, promotion, I would say at this point, like promotion and marketing. And we tried our best to stay on top of everything Edmonton, Northern Alberta, and Alberta football, even sometimes Canadian football, but specifically in our region. we do the best we can. We know about a lot of programs, even up in Fort McMurray and Grand Prairie, those kind of areas. So we try to keep tabs on everything, but sometimes you need the billboard outside of Commonwealth that, you know, has some of these programs to further get the kids interested in it. So I don't know. I think that it's just a matter of marketing and promotion. Might be.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's a great idea to have a billboard outside the Commonwealth Stadium. I know, at least driving around in Spruce Grove and some parts of Edmonton, there's advertisement right now for, you know, spring football or like football for minor levels, and I see kind of a couple different ones where they've introduced flag football, flag and tackle football. So a shout out to one of our a former Golden Bear alumni who's the head of the Canadian Capital District Minor Football Association, because they've introduced more flag, and they've changed, like when Mark would have played, you know, initial football from kids from 8 to 10, Adam, Pee Wee, 11 to 12, that type of thing. It used to be like a full 12-on-12 full field, and now they've broken it, and it's now 6-on-6 in a smaller field, more, you know, more touches for all the kids, more skill development training, that sort of thing. So I think there are some things that are happening, but to your point, maybe it's not as well publicized or as well known. So there's a good grassroots movement, certainly resurging since COVID. I think it's picked up quite a bit too.
Nice. I'm glad to hear it. Absolutely thrilled to hear it, because I mean, this has been a subject of conversation on this show for a hot minute now. So
definitely, we know that's where it starts. Right, and you guys would know it because that's how you started. And I know, Mark, what would you say? I know recently it's been really great. I know the fact that all the kids can go onto the field after you guys have a game, and they're just interacting with the players, and you guys are there, you know, signing those balls, you know, taking those pictures. That's absolutely fantastic. What do you think that has, you know, that development? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's a great thing. That we've been doing a lot of, you know, with the Elks, is just like, I guess the word for it would be just like exposure to football. You know, whether that's coming down on the field and getting a chance to interact with a player, take a picture, get an autograph, you know, whatever that is, and just to be on a football field, you know, is just a chance to like interact with the game. I think another thing that I've seen some minor football teams do around the city that's great is these events that it's like they're just like, come try football, and it's, you know, you set up a station for each position group, and every 10 minutes the kids bounce around. It's about an hour and a half. You know, they get a chance to throw, get a chance to catch, get a chance to kick the ball, get a chance to do everything, and just, you know, they're not really like playing a football game, but they're around the sport, right? And so giving them a chance to interact with it like that, I think is really cool, and I think it gives a lot of kids kind of an easy access point where they don't have to pick a position yet. They don't have to really dive too deep in. They can just kind of dip their toe in the water and see if is this something I like and I want to keep going with. Has been really good.
Oh, for sure. The boys, I really hope that they bring the kids camp this year, because last year the boys had a blast, and they had a chance to, you know, like you say, try a whole bunch of different stations. And the tackling was their favorite. There was one that they had to go through a little ball that they would roll, and they just absolutely loved it. And every year, you know, as these events happen, as they go to the games, they get more and more invested, more and more interested in the game. And now we have one that wants to be, you know, a running back, and the other one wants to be a quarterback. And it's just, it's great. So I really hope that we keep seeing those things coming up, and that it just continues to engage the kids even more.
Yep.
Just one of those things that very few kids that are like your kids' age, that they say, I want to be an offensive lineman, or I want to be a defensive lineman. You know, it just doesn't happen, unfortunately. But you know, that's just the way it goes.
You go for that dream. You go for that dream.
and then you fall in place where you belong.
Exactly. Well, you get to try every single little part of it, and then you figure out what you're the best at. He's really fast, so he likes to just go around everybody and do a.
That sounds like a defensive lineman to me. Like I'm a little biased that way. going to the like with the fans, the kids on the field at the end of the game. Like I even as a fan and as an adult, I love it. Like it just the energy that the kids bring. They're just thrilled. They're sprinting onto the field at the end of the game, and like I remember when they started and it was kind of inside the 20, and then they expanded it, and now that field's packed at the end of the game. And I know it was one of the things that I really enjoyed when Mark was first in Ottawa. Was the first time I had seen it. At the end of the game, they let everybody on the field and interacting, and that's exactly what what it's like now was that way in Ottawa. So I was really happy when Edmonton started doing that, and it's just creates a lot of energy, and as you say, gets the kids throwing the ball around, meeting the players. It's fun. Yeah, it's just
on the energy on the field after the first win there that broke the losing streak. I think it was against Ottawa. Is that right? Yeah. And the number of people that went down on the field, and it was just like a real magic kind of environment. I mean, for lots of reasons, right? There was just such a sense of relief from everybody. Everybody's running around. Of course, yeah, we got to take a picture with Mark's childhood friend Tanner, who was playing for Ottawa, and probably just kind of rubbed it in a little bit. But yeah,
I know.
A great night.
Scout cried that day.
Outed me. I guess for the bonus question for Mark, we got to know, man, that win. How did getting the monkey off the back feel? We got to know.
Yeah, it was great. It was just like, it was such a good, I don't know if I want to call it a relief, but it was like, okay, now we're over it, right? And like, now we don't have to hear about it anymore. We can just like keep going. And so it's something that we all knew, like eventually we're going to win. And it's going to come, but it was like, we just had to get that one, right? So it felt great. I've got the game ball right behind me. That's the game ball from the game. So I've got that sitting here every day. So yeah, it's certainly kind of it was a special one for sure, right? It was one that, took us longer than it should have to get. But it was a big moment. Unfortunately it became a big moment to win a home game, but for what it was big for us as a group to finally get that one. Yeah.
Oh, totally. And I mean, we're excited now for this season. Lots to be excited about. The MBT coming into town. A lot of changes with the team. Well, not so many changes, but the right changes. Like you have Curly Gittens Jr. coming in. You got, you have some consistency within the team. There's a way better nucleus and a core than there was, let's say, even 2 years ago. So super thrilled. I think we're hoping for the playoff word.
Yeah,
we're not gonna say anything about the G's or the C's, but the tailgate. I think that's our number one thing we're stoked about. No matter what, there's always a win in the tailgate. Brent, Mark, Terry, we cannot thank you enough for joining the show today. Brent, Terry, I know that we're going to see you at the tailgate. Mark, we will probably see you at training camp, or we'll see you performing and doing your thing out there.
Great, and we'll see you on the field after the game.
Yeah, there you go. Sold.
A lot of fun. Thanks, Catherine. Thanks, Scout.
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah.
Appreciate
it, guys.
Have an awesome night, guys.
Hey, have a good night. Have a good night.
Kicking one at a time. There you go.
Boom. So that was the Korte crew. Lori Goudreau in the herd chat. Tailgates are amazing. Family reunion every game. Looking forward to seeing you too, Lori.
Yes. We could talk to those guys forever.
Forever.
When you have a big family like that, a big football family with tons of stories, tons of anecdotes, it's just always so much fun. So, but we can't keep them forever.
Hey guys, tonight we're welcoming Rick Serritella to the show. We're going to talk about a number of things, including his beginnings in the football world, the NFL Draft Bible, and becoming a scout with the Edmonton Elks. So if you are in the herd chat watching live, make sure you blow it up, and we will do our best to get them onto the show. Rick, thank you so much for joining us tonight, man.
What's happening? The herd debut, baby.
Oh man, loving it.
Love it.
How's Edmonton been so far?
I'm loving Edmonton. I've been here for about 10 days. feel like that the community has welcomed myself along with a lot of the newcomers on the team with open arms. The fans here are phenomenal. They're so knowledgeable. They go out of their way to make us feel at home, even if you got a New Jersey accent. You know what I mean?
I love it. Have you been to any Oilers games?
I have not been to an Oilers game. I don't think the Chris Jones schedule is going to allow for that. But I did get a chance the other night to experience White Avenue after the win. We were out there, celebrating it up and experiencing all the mayhem that Edmonton has to offer. Buckle up.
I love it.
No, that's awesome, man. And I mean,
By
hey,
the way, I appreciate everything you guys do. I love the show. I tune in all the time. I think you guys really have your finger on the pulse when it comes to the fans and the Elks and Section X. I found out where that is today, so that was fun to know. And I'll be looking for you guys this Saturday.
No, really, really, really appreciate it. I do know that you're a longtime viewer. You caught one of the very few times I've actually gone ahead and vaped on the show. So, man, accidentally. But yeah, no, man, we really, really appreciate you tuning in. Not only that, man, you're on the show today. So, the more you didn't know, we gotta get the rundown here, Rick. Question number 1: your path to Edmonton began with some form of starting point in the relation of football. So, man, how did you get interested in football, and how did that transform you into a scout?
Yeah, so back in 2002, there was a gentleman by the name of Joel Buxbaum, and he's pretty legendary in the NFL scouting community and the NFL draft community, and he had passed away. And I used to buy his draft guide called Pro Football Weekly NFL Draft Guide, which was considered the NFL Draft Bible at the time. And so when he passed away, I was like, man, there's just a huge void here, and who's going to carry that torch? And I had always been an avid follower of the draft. So I happened to be working in New York with the Mike and the Mad Dog show. The draft was historically held in New York City annually. And so I launched a publication called the NFL Draft Bible. That started in 2002. Wrote a draft guide book, a hard copy book for the last 23 years or so. All the NFL teams started subscribing to it over the course of time, and I had a chance to kind of evolve and grow into the all-star community. Before I joined Edmonton, I was doing the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl all-star game with Dane Vandernat and some really great talent evaluators that we had on our staff there. So, Coach Chris Jones and G. Roy Simon used to come out to our event every year, and, they would come and pick my brain and kind of chop it up, talk some personnel, talk some players. And so when they canceled the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl this year, I got a call and it didn't take very long to have to think about it. And I'll tell you what, I just feel like it was the evolution of my career, the next step to kind of join an organization, be a part of a great organization, a team that has storied history, 14 Grey Cups, working with Chris Jones and G. Roy Simon. I think there's about 6 Grey Cups there between those two men. And again, the Chris Jones schedule, I mean, this man is maniacal about just striving for excellence. And I think that it starts at the top, it carries on down, and man, just so happy to be here.
That's so cool. That's cool to hear. We always love getting different perspectives and different stories of how people end up joining the organization and how they rose to the love of football. But I do want to bring it back a little bit to your NFL Draft Bible. Can you tell us exactly what the Draft Bible is, and how has it helped you so far in your role with the Elks?
Yeah, so, it basically is self-explanatory, right? It's the Bible of the NFL draft. So, every year we've had as many, I think, as 720 scouting reports, I think, in the book. And, I followed this draft. The NFL draft process flows through my veins. This is my 24th draft cycle now. And so I've been pounding the pavement, getting out to college practices, games, the All-Star circuit, pro days, the NFL scouting combine, street free agent workouts. I mean, I remember during COVID, I was traveling the whole entire time, just working out street free agents and helping place them in the NFL and the CFL. And so, I tell players all the time, go play somewhere. If you can't make an NFL team, if you can't make a CFL team, go play in the Arena League if you got to, because once you spend a year on the couch, you're an afterthought. And there's about, 2,000 players every year who come out for the NFL draft, and we're on to the next class, right? So that's kind of the advice that I give players.
Well, that's crazy, because that's something that I've thought about, even with, let's say, Manny Arsenal, right?
Mhm.
He's trying to find somewhere to play, but if he takes this year off, he's done for good. Like, that's the reality of the business. So it's great to hear you say that. Now, translating this to the Edmonton Elks, now you're one of the U.S. scouts for the Double E. How did that process start, and how did you land that gig?
Yeah, so again, the NFLPA, they called me right before the training camp this past season and informed me that the game was no longer going to be happening. And G. Roy Simon gave me a call, and again, it was quick, it was short, it was simple. I don't think there was much of a onboarding process. Like, we just rolled up our sleeves and literally got to work, and we haven't stopped since. So it's just kind of been diving right into the deep end of the pool. I got my big boy pants on. I got my work boots. Got extra clothes. Sometimes we don't leave the facility, so we're all good.
Oh, well, and I was telling Kathy, even when you got signed, when I found out that you were with the Edmonton Elks, I'm like, look, like this guy has the pulse. This guy, kind of like you said with us and having the pulse over here with Edmonton Elks fans, you have the pulse on NFL draft prospects, NFL prospects, which also can translate to CFL, right? So like
Yeah.
and was like, I mean, I guess in your opinion, as like an add-on here, is there much to translate from NFL to CFL for you and what you do?
Yeah, well, so that's kind of, you talk about the process, and initially that was part of like getting with coach, getting with G. Roy, understanding some of the prototypes that we look for our specific scheme, different positions. You have different measurables that you're looking for, different times, right, when it comes to testing, and then obviously skill sets. And so with the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, anybody who's listening, you probably heard of the Senior Bowl and the East-West Shrine Bowl. Well, we were kind of third in the pecking order. And so there's only 250 players who get drafted. And these all-star games, our all-star game took 112. So you're talking about those fringe guys, right? Those borderline NFL talents that, may or may not make it to the NFL. And so we've had historically a lot of players from our event come up north to the CFL. And so I've always, all my NFL scout buddies get mad at me for saying this, but it's true. I've always respected CFL scouts more, because it's harder to be a CFL scout, because anyone can identify the top talent, the top 100, or go tell me that the dude at the Senior Bowl is a stud. But when you find an American player to bring up north, usually there's some kind of wart, right? Like, it could be size deficiency, it could be lack of arm length, it could be a slow 40 time, it could be an injury, it could be a mental thing, it could be a physical ailment. So typically, like, the life of a CFL scout is trying to identify those guys on the fringe who, everybody is talented when you get to the professional level, but then it's just kind of like the mental makeup, what's in your heart, what's in your head, getting to know those guys. And the more I do this, the more I realize that's what it's about. It's about scouting the person and the DNA as much as it is the overall skill set.
No, totally. And like Qantas Stiggers, I think that's, just like you were talking about the Shrine Bowl, East-West Shrine Bowl. Qantas Stiggers made it out of the CFL, made it to that game, got drafted.
Mhm.
So in the NFL, so those like these games are very, very important, especially the one that you held as well every year. So very, very important. And like you said, you were shipping guys up to the CFL, so that's cool to know that you already have a lot of that familiarity.
Yeah, that's really
Yeah,
interesting.
so I'll just say one thing. Like during COVID, I was working with Don Yee with the Hub Football Camp, right? And so the sole purpose of that was to take guys off the street because they could not get into facilities. Obviously, they could not fly to the different cities. So we would work them out. We would film it. We would time them, test them, measure them, and then send them to the teams. And I'm telling you, like during COVID, we were taking like 25%. So like 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 guys off of the street and placing them in the NFL and CFL, right? And so, we've had a lot of CFL scouts on our NFLPA Collegiate Bowl staff. I know Todd Worley is a guy. He was with Ottawa. He's now with Winnipeg. He was a scout with us for quite a while. So, yeah, very familiar. I watch all the CFL games. So, there wasn't a whole lot to get caught up with. It was just, instead of working with an all-star event, your team is that week, right? You get to see it that week. You're like a kid in a candy store. You see all those guys. You get to, meet them in person. You get to see them practice throughout the week, and then they're off, and you track their careers. Where the Elks is just so exciting because we're just pouring the concrete, laying the foundation, and building and stacking every day. And man, it's contagious. I mean, the attitude here in the building. It is contagious. Everybody's excited. I think, we're trying to give the fans what they deserve.
Of course. It makes it sound like, you're kind of like a foster parent, to all these players that you're just bringing in. You bring them up, and then you see them go in, their own ways, and you just hope for the best. But it's lovely.
Well, yeah, so we had a guy today that came that arrived last night, Antonio Alfano. We got him in the supplemental draft, somebody who I believe would have possibly been the top player in the CFL draft. That's how highly we regard this young man. And so he was working out in New Jersey. I've had a chance to meet his mom, his girlfriend. I know Antonio. So when he came to Edmonton, it's like family. And that's the kind of culture we're trying to cultivate.
Nice. And you're from Jersey as well.
Yeah.
So I do have another question, because we're up here in Canada, we don't have a lot of visibility on what a US scout actually does on, the processes and everything that you do. So what does a week working for a Canadian CFL team in the USA look like?
Yeah. So, it's fun for the NFL teams, right? Because they got about like 20 front office personnel. Everybody takes a section. Hey, you take the Northeast. Hey, you take the Southeast. I'll take the Midwest. Hey, I got the West Coast. And you split it up and you divvy it up. And, that's fun, right? But, CFL, we don't have that kind of budget. So, we've really got to cover our tracks. And I think our scouting department set up a little bit different than most of the teams in the league. But for me personally, I'm trying to cover as much ground as I can. I'm here for training camp. We're in an evaluation process, right? I think we started when rookie camp kicked off. We had about 110 players here. We're at about somewhere around 70, 75, and we've got to make some cuts here coming up on June 1st. So, once we get cut down, well, then I'm back on the road. I'm back to the States. I'm making the calls to the pro liaisons during the summer months and kind of gathering, the initial scouting lists and then just, doing as much homework as I can on the backgrounds, doing as much film work as I can before I go into the schools. So that way, when training camp rolls around, August is a big month for us as we get ready to embark upon the next draft cycle, right? And so I'm going to be out there not only scouting the NFL training camp cuts, right, for possible guys that we could call up in season, but then also hitting the college football training camps and starting the 2025 process. And so during the season, I could go into a school, I could go to the practice. Usually we get film access. Other times I go to games on Saturdays, college football Saturdays. I try to get to at least one game, sometimes two.
Nice.
And you know, building pipelines into these different schools. I mean, there's schools I've been going to for over 2 decades, and I know I see some of the same faces since the first day. And relationships in this business are invaluable. So that's a lot of what I'll be doing during the season. You know, during the winter months, I guess January, the All-Star circuits kick up, and there's about 7 different events that we go to. Then we got the combine, but you know, a typical week, I mean, for me, it's usually about 15 to 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we just live, breathe, and eat football. And yeah, that's what we do.
Busy man. I'm exhausted listening to that.
Did I mention I have a 6-year-old? I'm exhausted too.
Oh wow, that in itself is a full-time job. Holy.
So like, have you experienced being behind the scenes of a pro football team like this, and has this experience helped you grow as a scout?
Yeah, I mean, I've been inside the locker rooms. Obviously, I've visited millions of games and teams, and so I've been, you know, in the mix. But to be a member of a team and go through this process, it's a first for me. And again, I just give a lot of credit to Coach Chris Jones and G-Roy Simon. And it's a little bit of an unorthodox approach, I would say, to bring someone like myself. You know, I came from a media background too. So like, my publication came from the media side, and you've really got to build up some cachet to get some street cred there. But I think, you know, we went a little bit outside the box, bringing me on board, and it's been a great learning experience. Again, like, you know, I always tell Coach when he gets mad at me, like, hey, Coach, you've forgotten more football than I'll ever know, so it's all good. But you know, it's just it's a learning experience to be around greatness and champions, and just, you know, the process that we've developed, the cohesive unit that we have, the collaboration, the perspectives, the point of view, the different things that we all see and bring to the table. Man, I mean, you know, and the respect that we have, right? Like we can go after each other and then go have a soda pop afterwards, and it's all love.
Well, and speaking of street cred, like Mick Aussie here in the herd chat, Gabe Morency's mate, love his NFL talk on Gabe's show. So yeah, I mean, you know, friend of the herd, Gabe Morency, and Mick Aussie, he makes appearances on Sports Grid as well. So
appreciate that.
Oh man, always good stuff. It's like I said, when you see somebody such as yourself come into the Edmonton Elks realm, right? It was interesting. It was, I was taken aback. I'm like, how the heck did the Edmonton Elks get this guy? Like, he is in, you know, we have other members of Shotgun Sports Network that were like, dude, you guys got Rick Serritella. Yeah, the Edmonton Elks got Rick Serritella. So I mean, you have a different way of doing things.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, talking about that different way of doing things and out of the box and unorthodox methods, we see you on social media asking where those hungry athletes at, right? You are definitely taking a new approach to social media scouting. So how have you found this? Has there been success using this model of scouting?
Every day I wake up, I have about 500 new messages from players and agents. So yeah, I'd say it's working, you know. But yeah, I mean, why not parlay this massive social media following that I have? A lot of agents and industry individuals and coaches and GMs. I got one of the scouting directors from one of the NFL teams just sent me a message, said, hey, just looking for some running backs. You know, and we just got done watching his film. It's a really good player. And so, you know, listen, they know me. When they see me on the streets for over 2 decades, like, a lot of guys know me. They know what I'm about. I've always been a straight shooter. I don't BS anybody. And so, you know, hopefully that's starting to come to fruition and the payback on the come around. But, you know, we have all these followers, all these fans, all these industry connections. Why not maximize it? And yeah, I mean, every given day, I could spend a whole day just watching film on players' submission. So it's pretty cool.
Well, and see, we've always connected with scouts. By the way, Gabriel Morency show is Sports Rage. But we've always connected with scouts because we have people DM us. We have players, prospects, high school players, college players DMing us saying, "Yo, bro, give us a chance."
I always make a joke of it because I think that maybe they see your name and think that you're a scout, but you're just a scout.
But this is at the Elks herd, right? So my name is barely even attached. So it's funny. We always try to ship the prospects to whoever the scouts are. And I think what was it? It was January. We saw you. Hey, where's my big body DBs at? And I'm like, what? Like, this guy's actually canvassing out there on social media using the tools properly as they should. You know, like it was refreshing to see that kind of scouting. Slammy, throw as much DB paint at the wall, but let's see.
Sling mud, baby. Sling that mud. Yeah.
Oh, hey, you know what's Gretzky say? 100% of the shots you don't take, right? You miss them. So it's really, really refreshing to see you bring that to Edmonton. Now, you know, bringing it back to Edmonton. The Edmonton Eskimos were obviously the name of the team before. There was a lot of history there. So did that history weigh in your decision into joining the Elks? Like, were you aware of the history? Did you have any respect for that Eskimos brand when you came in?
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, I'm a football lifer. I'm a football fan, you know, very well aware of the history and tradition. And, you know, I'll tell you what, walking around, you know, you're reminded about it constantly, right? And, you know, trust me, we understand the disappointment, well aware that the fans have been more than patient, waiting for success. And feel like, you know, we've really done a lot of hard work this offseason to show them something.
Nice.
I love how you're saying we. Like, just we. You're definitely part of this organization now. You're in it, and, you know, it just radiates of what you say and how you refer to the Edmonton Elks. So that's really exciting.
Well, and
that brings a lot of confidence in your guys' work.
It's even cool to hear you say that because a lot of people that we've talked to within the organization, whether it be players, scouts, really anybody within the organization, everybody's buying into the plan this year. Everybody's bought into getting a cup back to Edmonton. Obviously, we're talking cup, which is a very big talk, but just getting back to the playoffs is what all fans want to see right now.
Well, I think it's the commitment, the passion that all the fans want to see right now.
Totally.
From every single member of the organization. Right?
That's what gets you to the playoffs. So, yeah, I mean, really, really stoked to hear that, Rick. And I mean, obviously, to have you on board, that's going to fuel the team for the years to come. So, you know, you have a lot to do with the pipeline, but also the future of the team, right?
Yeah.
It's the pipeline to, and it's the pipeline from.
Yeah. So one last question. I feel like the last half an hour just flew by. Holy. But one last question. Do you have any players in mind that fans should keep an eye out for? Anybody that you've seen that is turning heads at camp?
Yeah, quite a few. You know, I'll give you one on offense and one on defense. You know, and I won't give you the obvious. I'll give you a newcomer to the scene. So Montana wide receiver Malik Flowers is somebody who's had a great training camp. You know, I think with our wide receiver group, it's pretty stacked in that room right now. And so the casual or even the hardcore Edmonton Elks fan may not be aware of Malik Flowers since it's his first year, but I do believe that this young man has a bright future in the CFL. And then I always tell people, like, hey, you want to know where the football is? Just find number 48, Nick Anderson, our will linebacker out of Tulane. So this guy, I mean, he was the heart and soul of the Tulane defense. A little bit undersized, right? We talked about why guys, how they find their way to the CFL. He's maybe like 5'10", Sam Mills type of size, But I'll tell you what, man, he just always shows up around the football and makes plays. That Nick Anderson, he's going to be a pretty good-looking player there for the Elks squad.
Nice.
We'll keep an eye.
Yeah, no, Nick Anderson. We're gonna definitely in Malik Flowers.
Yes.
And it's interesting too. Malik Flowers, he's been a name that's been buzzing around as well. So I've heard that on the fan side of things. So it's really, really cool. The team, everybody seems to have bought in.
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's an exciting year. The 75th. We heard rumors that Warren Moon is going to be in town for a couple of events. So, they're pulling out all the stops. Really special to see you being involved with this season as well. So we're going to wrap it up here right away, Rick. Where can we find you on social media? Do you have any upcoming appearances on shows? What do you have coming up?
Well, yeah, I hope I get an invite back to the Elks herd, but I do the Gabriel Morenz. By the way, I was giving him hell the other night for the Oilers game, out there.
Vancouver Canucks fan, This guy, Gabriel.
Yeah, Gabriel was out there. He was at the game.
Yeah.
And he probably spent the grip to experience that heartbreaking loss. So I had to kind of,
it'd be devastating.
Twist that knife around a little bit and jab him. But I'm looking forward to this being in town for the next round, and maybe we'll have some overflow with the Oilers and Elks season. It was brought to my attention, during my night out at the town and meeting so many fans that the City of Champions. There's only been 1 year, I believe, that the Oilers and the Eskimos, now the Elks, have won the championship in the same year, 1987, I believe. So the 75th anniversary is upon us, and hopefully. Maybe it's just meant to be something magical in Edmonton this year, but hopefully the Oilers can deliver first and bring a parade to the city. And I'll be back for that if they do.
That gave me shivers. Can you imagine?
Bring
a Stanley Cup and a Grey Cup. That would be
back the carnival.
Amazing.
It's called the Carnival of Champions. They've done it before. You take
Edmontonians would riot for the right reasons, not like Vancouver people. But,
yeah. Well, exactly. Oh, yeah, Mick Aussie in the chat. Yeah, Gabe now Canucks, and sure, he would have lost too much money with this gambling.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have put that up. Let's just hide it quick.
That's so funny. Hey, no, Gabe's a good friend of the show, so always good stuff. And yeah, we know that Mick Aussie is messing around like always, but no, always good stuff. Yeah, no, this was a fantastic episode. We can't thank you enough. Of course, we're going to have you back on, Rick. Always a good time, man. I'll potentially see you on Friday. So, we'll definitely try to link up here one more time before you leave town. Real quick, before we go, man, Donairs. Quick review on Donairs.
Man, I'll tell you, I'm loving it, and it's a good switch up for me because I'm one of those guys that I just douse, like whatever I eat, I just douse it with hot sauce all the time. So like this was a good switch up because it was nice and sweet. There's so much sauce falling all over that can't even put any more hot sauce or anything. So we just took it as is, and man, it was definitely the best thing I've had since I've been in town here in Edmonton. And shout out to Sorrentino's too. If you're in the great city of Edmonton, go see Mateo down there at Sorrentino's. He's like family over there. Tell him Rick sent you.
Nice,
I love it. Which location? Which one?
The one next to the grocery in the Italian section there. Is that 94?
Yep.
Yeah.
I know where that one is. Okay, we'll have to go there.
Oh, for sure. No.
Date night.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Thanks, Rick. No, just kidding. No, just kidding. No, for sure. Sorrentino's, always a great spot as well. Italian Center. I mean, they're you always get like the freshest deli meats place. There. Yeah. They're a staple, and they have multiple locations in town. We need to get a sponsorship going if we're going to talk about them anymore. All right, everybody, that is all the time we have for today. We'd like to thank everybody for tuning in today to this episode. We see you guys tuning in, so thanks a ton. You're probably watching on YouTube, but you could be watching on X or Facebook as well. And if you're listening, it's on TuneIn, iHeart, Edmonton Sports Talk, or on your favorite podcatcher. Rick, the U.S. scout for the Edmonton Elks, man, we cannot thank you enough for joining our show today.
Hey, Kathy and Scott, buckle up, baby.
Oh,
Let's go.
We're ready.
Antlers up, buckle up. It's time to get some wins down at Commonwealth Stadium. And it all starts this Saturday. Rick, we're going to see you this Saturday at Commonwealth.
Yes, you will. You will. You will indeed. I'll be there. And I hope to see everybody listening there too as well.
Come by the tailgate.
Yeah.
I'll be there. Done.
There you
Perfect.
go. Stall number 184.
182.
82.
180. 180 something. No, 182.
We're around there.
Swing on by our tailgate.
You can send me a text on game day. I want to be out there with the people. I want to come see them and say hello. So I'll definitely show up.
Well, exactly. And this is actually the first time that the tailgate's going to be set up like this. We expect to see most of the fans. Also, hey, quick plug. If anybody wants to buy a tailgate spot, we know somebody that's selling a tailgate spot. So do get at us. I have stall 54, I want to say. Our good friend Paul is selling a ticket, so let us know. But everybody, we are going to cut it here. So once again, thanks to Rick. Thanks to you, the viewer, for tuning in. My name is Scout, a.k.a. the Rep from Section X.
And I'm Catherine, a.k.a. Do You Have an Elks?
That was Rick Serritella. This is the Elks Call. And we will see everybody next week on the next episode, hopefully after an Elks win. Cheers, everybody.
Night.
Cheers, Rick. And that will conclude another best of episode from the Elks Call Season 2. If you enjoy what you see and like what you hear, be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and favorite button. We thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Don't forget to head over to royalretros.com and use code Shotgun Sports, all caps, no spaces, to save 10% off on throwback CFL jerseys and official CFL PA merchandise. And stay tuned to Shotgun Sports Network for another episode of the Elks Call in the near future. Until then, my name is Scout, a.k.a. the Rep from Section X, with the Elks Herd, and we will see you all again soon. Cheers, everybody.